Okay, calling to order the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and Waterland. So this morning we'll have a budget presentation from Department of Land and Natural Resources. Good morning.
Morning. So, aloha mai kākou. Aloha. Chairs Dela Cruz, Inouye, and Vice Chairs Moriwaki and Elefante, and members of the Senate Ways and Means Committee and Senate Committee on Water and Land. My name is Don Chang. I am Chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources and Chair of the Commission on Water Resource Management. I'd also like to introduce DLNR's leadership team, First Deputy Ryan Kanakaole and Kira Kahahane, Deputy of the Water Commission. Also seated at the table this morning is Cynthia Gomez, DLNR's Administrative Services Officer, and Dina Lau, Acting Chief Engineer. Seated behind me are the administrators for DLNR, and I would like to introduce them in the order of their LNR ID. If you could please stand when I call your name. LNR 101, Russell Suji, Land Management Division. LNR 101, Michael Kane, Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands. Also, I think we have Leah. It's also here. Very good. Thank you. LNR 111, Hannah Domingo with the Bureau of Conveyances. LNRs 141 and 810, Dina Lau with Engineering. LNR 401, Brian Nielsen, Division of Aquatic Resources. LNRs 172, 402, 407, and 804, David Smith, Division of Forestry and Wildlife. LNR 404, Kira Kahahane with Water Resource Management. LNR 405, Jason Radula, Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement. LNR 801, Megan Stats, Division of Ocean Boating and Ocean Recreation. LNR 802, Jessica Puff, State Historic Preservation Division. LNR 806, Kirk Cottrell, State Parks. And LNR 906, Alice Schutte, Human Resources. LNR 906, Lila Luce, IT. LNR 906, Cynthia Gomez, Administrative Services Officer. LNR 906, Hua Ayu, and who is not present with us is LNR 906, Dan Dennison with Communications. I'd also like to present today the administrators to several of the agencies that are administratively attached to DLNR. LNR 908, Michael Naho'opi'i with Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission, and LNR 909, John DeFries, Executive Director of the Mauna Kea Stewardship Oversight Authority. LNR 907 is Leimana Damate, and I'm sorry she is not here today. Her husband passed away last week, and she notified us that she won't be here. So mahalo for this opportunity to provide a briefing of DLNR's budget to the Senate Ways and Means and the Water Land Committee. Welcome back. I'd like to provide a brief outline of our presentation. I will be providing an overview of DLNR's mission, goals, and highlights of our proposed budget request for biennium FY 26-27 operational and CIP budgets through the PowerPoint slides, which you should have received in advance of this hearing. Then we'll proceed with answering any questions the committee members may have regarding our proposed budget. After DLNR's presentation, we would like to set aside at least 15 minutes to provide an opportunity for Kirk and Mauna Kea Authority to present their proposed budget and answer questions. So with that, I'm going to move on to our presentation. DLNR's mission, it is to enhance, protect, conserve, and manage Hawaii's unique and limited natural, cultural, and historic resources held in public trust for the current and future generations of the people of Hawaii and its visitors in partnership with others from the public and private sectors. DLNR's fiscal year 26-27 budget summary. Our goal is to have sufficient capacity and financial resources to manage our 1.3 million acres of land and 3 miles of ocean waters and all resources in between that fall under DLNR's jurisdiction. Our budget is based upon the following strategies. 1, to address staffing capacity, we're implementing multiple strategies to effectively deal with our staff vacancies, recruitment, and retention. 2, to fund backlog repair and deferred maintenance, especially at small boat harbors and state parks. to better serve our users and to assess appropriate fees. 3, to provide sufficient capacity to enhance wildfire readiness, protection of endangered species, and control invasive species to serve our goal of protecting cultural and natural resources. 4, to increase our both base general operational funds to attract federal matching funds, and most importantly, to fulfill our mission and public trust duties. And 5, to increase special fund ceilings to allow divisions to utilize user fees to provide support to our facilities and support the department. This is a summary of a deal in our staffing. We have 1,100 FTE and 49 part-time. This is on table 3. We have a vacancy rate of 24%, which is 3% down from last year. And this is on table 11. Our recruitment efforts in FY 2024 resulted in 200 recruitments, and we filled 208 positions. I'd like to take a little time to describe a new process our HR department has instituted to address staffing recruitment. Last year, through legislative support, for additional staffing for HR, mahalo to you for that, and cooperation with DHERD and buy-in from our departments, we have successfully begun process of transitioning external service recruitments that have previously been conducted by DHERD to be assumed by DLNR HR. This is known as delegated recruitments. Through this process, we have been able to do the following. 1, to date, the number of positions approved for delegated recruitment include 48 positions. Combined with our exempt positions, DLNR is approved to conduct 167 total delegated recruitments, which is 14.53% of its position count. We have 14 divisions participating in delegated recruitment, civil service and exempt efforts, which demonstrates the department's wide impact of this initiative. This initiative has impacted recruitment efforts in the following ways. Data from our civil service delegated recruitments thus far have found that this time was reduced by half to 130 days, 4 months, and 10 days. We believe that time and experience, our comfort level, and understanding of recruitment platform systems will improve and decrease this time even further. To further highlight our staff's success with transition to delegated recruitment, on average, our team was able to craft and post a position-specific job announcement within 30 days of the information being provided by the division and review applications within 13 days of job announcement closing or application being submitted. Our job announcements are tailored towards the specific positions. It includes position-specific job duties, a project description is attached, position description is attached, visual aids are included, a point of contact for the department is included. And these have yielded enough interest to a qualified pool of candidates. While this task takes time and investment up front, time is saved on the applicant's part as they only apply for jobs for which fit their employment interests and skill set. And the division receives a list of qualified applicants who are truly interested in that specific job request. Over time, we look forward to increasing the number of positions that will be eligible for the delegated recruitment process. Next is our operational budget summary, which is on table 2.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Because we're on the vacancy, can I just ask a question regarding vacancies then? Or you'll
This is just your
finish?
summary, yeah?
Yeah, this is
Just
just
a
our
summary.
summary.
Or her intro.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we do have Alice who can answer questions when
Okay, well, my question is, thanks for the table 11.
okay.
With that said, and I'm glad that
To the question.
I'm glad we're filling the
Yeah,
positions.
hearing.
Yes.
But I noticed that under the salary, actual salary, there's quite a bit of agencies that it says never filled. So is it never filled? There's quite a few.
What?
And in
what
general,
people are you looking-
table 11.
Okay. That,
And I think it's referring to almost all the agencies or several that probably perhaps unsuccessful applications or whatever.
so rather than me trying to, I think it might be more appropriate, Alice, if you could come up.
If someone can just say it's because they are in the process, that's fine.
So I think we've identified where some of them have never been filled. If they've been longer vacancies, we're agreeing to eliminate them. But Alice, if you can address the question.
You gotta look at-
Yeah.
You gotta look at the date.
Good morning, Alice Schutte, Dillon, our HR officer. So in some cases, you will see that they have yet to be established. In some cases, they're already in recruitment
Okay.
and being worked on. So we just haven't had an incumbent in the past, and that's why the last salary is showing never filled.
Okay, all right. That's fine for now, and later on we can deal with it during committee hearings. Okay,
Thank you.
But who establishes?
The divisions initiate and then we work with them to establish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a timeline for that then?
We do, and it is based on the division's priorities, and some are pending reorg. Like we have a large percentage where reorganization is required per BNF, and those take time. So they're at various stages. Yeah, if you're looking at a specific position number, we can look to see what's happening.
no, not today. We can do it
Okay.
during
But I will
the.
give you an example. The 6 positions that this legislature appropriated funds for the chair's office, we have established them, we have developed reorg, and we are in the process of, we filled one position, the economic development position, and the other 5 positions were in the process of active recruitment and interviewing. So we have tried to facilitate that process over the year through this delegated recruitment, and then specifically through trying to create a vertical promotion of internal staff to move up. But then what that does is that creates vacancies below. So we are trying, again, multiple strategies to address our vacancy.
Okay,
Just one
prior
thought-
to that,
follow-up. The never filled, is that you don't need it?
No,
or you
she's
can't
saying
get
that
it?
just got established.
Yeah.
Oh, look, but there's
No.
many. Which ones are not needed and are not
No.
being filled?
I thought you just said those were given to you, but you're still establishing them.
Yes, so if they're not needed, they were on that. No, we didn't do any, right?
Yeah.
You need the mic. You need the mic.
I think all the positions are needed. It's just that all the divisions have their priorities. So HR is processing according to their priorities, right? So, the most important one gets processed first, right? Based on.
Yeah, but if you guys don't do it fast enough, there's no sense in us giving it to you.
So that's a very fair question, Senator. So that's what we're
Exactly.
trying to do, is through this new delegated recruitment.
Well,
to
you guys have
expedite-
till conference.
We have to a conference?
Yes, get it going.
Okay, nope, we are actively doing that. Thank you.
Okay,
Just-
why don't you
just
continue?
another point, I hear reorg. So in the interim, can you just, each agency, if there's a reorg, just send us a note, making sure that we understand what agency is doing reorganization, and make sure that the leaders of an organization, we have their names and phone numbers, because it would be, it wouldn't match our agency's director book that we're always looking for who's who. Okay, so we can deal with that later. But anytime that there's reorganization in a division, we should know. Can send it to the committee.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. If I may proceed, then, the summary of our operational budget is on table 2. FY 25, we had approximately $326,632,854. For FY 26, we are proposing a operational budget of $320,586,079.
It doesn't match.
Oh, we didn't move on. Oh, this is one that's, it's on table 2. I'm just summarizing. So, yeah. And then for FY 24,
You know what?
27,
Instead of going through that, then the better thing is we should just go to table 6 then.
Okay, this one was on table. So it was
Because you're
just,
giving us the amount.
yes, I'm just giving you the
Yeah.
total. Okay,
We can go dive into
Okay,
straight into
okay.
ads.
so maybe I will pass on those then, so that I can go directly to our
Ask.
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 Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So now I'd like to do, so I'm going to go over to our FY 26-27 that is on table 4. And I am going to highlight just what we're asking for based upon the LNR ID minutes.
Oh, no. Go to table 6,
Go to
because
table-
what you want us
Oh,
to see is the things you asked for that the governor didn't approve.
Okay.
We just want to know what the governor approved.
Yes, no, actually, we are restraining ourselves to only tell you what the governor approved.
Okay, but then use table 6 then, and not
Okay.
table 4.
And those, okay, my mistake. Okay, so let's go first over LNR 101. Briefly, last year we received $6.1 million. 3.1 was in C funds and 3 million in D funds. And this was to complete phase 2 of Uncle Billy's demolition and remove of underground structures and utilities.
Wait,
So that was last
LNR.
year.
Oh,
Okay.
no, what is this year's ad?
Okay, so this year, LNR 101, we're only requesting CIP funds.
Okay,
Okay, so the first one is our CIP priority, department priority number 2, 1.5 million for statewide cesspool closures in accordance with the EPA consent order. And our CIP, this is on our table 15. We're also department priority number 9, $700,000 for Shangri-La breakwater removal on Oahu. Priority number 8, $500,000 for the lower Kapahi reservoir removal on Kauai. And priority number 21, $500,000 for East Kapolei TOD project on Oahu.
okay. But you're not gonna, I thought you were gonna go by program ID.
So that's LNR 101.
Yeah, so it says here you're asking for one position, 30,000 the first year, 60,000 the second year.
6.
Table 6.
Table 6. Oh, you know what?
And you're still on 101.
So yeah, so we have several under 101. So one of them, what I just explained was land division. So now LNR 101.
Excuse me, on the positions for LNR current, but we gave you 5 positions last year. And I understand it's not being filled yet.
That's with land division.
Yeah, if we can just have an
Yeah, Russell Suji is here. My understanding is they were waiting for office space, but Russell, did you want to answer that?
Thanks, Russell, for being here. Thanks, Chair.
Morning, Senators. Yeah, we have established those positions and we needed time to renovate our offices to make space for the additional positions, and we've just about finished that.
You cannot do it simultaneously?
It took a while to renovate like one.
I know, it takes a while to hire. I mean, why aren't you guys doing things?
We actually established a position, so it's now actually to start recruitment would be the next step after we finished our.
So out of the 5, you haven't hired yet then?
Because the establishment of the positions, plus we had to reorg, right? So that took a while. And we went through that process and completed that. So we finished up, and then we did the CIP construction. In Hilo, we did the actual complete renovation of an old building. But in most of on Oahu and Kauai, we basically renovated our existing space.
No, so if that's the case, what we should be doing is just giving you the position and not funding it. If you guys are gonna take all this time to do renovation and reorg and all of that stuff, we shouldn't fund the
So
position.
that's not, we leave that up to the divisions. Like in the chair's office, you funded 6 positions. We are currently interviewing and hiring for those.
Yeah, but in this case, if you guys wanna present it and you're asking for it, you guys gotta be ready to go.
Right.
And if you're not ready to go, just ask for the position without the money. And then when you need the money, then we can add it.
Yeah, and you add because you already have positions we approved last year, so now we're adding more
No,
positions.
that's
you
the
know.
5 I'm talking
Yeah.
about though.
These are special funded, so whatever.
Still,
is
if we
not spent,
appropriate, we still
just
gotta
go back to
appropriate
the
it.
Special fund, yeah. So it's not like A funds, it's that would be it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though, because as a general policy, if people who depend on the general fund, then they end up moving the general fund around.
Yeah.
We should be consistent with it.
Right, when I think the appropriation initially was half a year and then is anticipating proceeding full-on recruitment within that time period, but what we found was we did not have enough office space. We had requested space from DAGs within,
Still,
and they didn't have available space, so we ended up having to either
There's no
find
space.
another building for Hilo as well as
Okay.
for Oahu and Kauai.
So when you guys ask for positions, you don't try to work all that out first before asking?
In this case, in this instance, it was actually through I think the House Investigative Committee that had recommended positions. And so that's how the thing came about. It came out really quickly. It wasn't really planned out about the space, and we had not done the space analysis prior to that.
Similar to what Senator De La Cruz said, you guys asking for the positions and then they allocate the money, but you guys don't have room. You guys don't anticipate of trying to make this room first. So like how he's saying to get these positions expedited, because you guys say you guys need the need, but then you guys are going to put everything on hold to do renovations. So if you guys don't anticipate the renovations, then you guys know you ask for the position, you guys come back this year, ask for the position, then we give you guys the money, and so forth and so on, because again, you guys ask for them, then we hurry up give, then we gotta hurry up and wait for the positions to be filled. So if you guys never anticipate that, who didn't anticipate that you guys needed these renovations to add this amount of people that you guys are gonna have in your guys' division? And that should be across the board, not just you guys, anybody in any of the departments. If you guys ask for something, make sure you guys have the ability to house the people you're asking for.
So I do leave that up to the specific divisions. Because for example, like I said, in the chair's
Yeah, but
office.
the
what they-
ASO should be reviewing that with the
Yeah, no, no,
divisions.
and they do, so they were doing things concurrently between office renovations as well as the positions, but the other division, so each division will fill their positions once they establish them. But it does depend upon the divisions. So I also want to be careful that we're not characterizing that this is uniformly all with DLNR, because we have been able to fill some positions more quickly.
Yeah, I'm not saying it is. All I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
is
no,
when you're
fair
going to
enough.
ask for a
Yeah, yeah,
position,
yeah.
make sure that you can fill it.
No, that
Don't
is a
go
fair
and
point.
ask
Yeah.
for the position and the money,
Right,
and then you
right.
haven't even worked it out.
Okay. No,
Because if that's the case, you should have just told the House, okay, give us the position, let's do all of this stuff, and then we'll come back for the money.
no. So I will be sure next time, well, when we do prepare our budget, that I will work with the departments to ensure that they're going to be ready to fill the positions, should we receive
well,
them.
for the land division, we know how crowded they are, so space is important as well. Senator Moriwaki.
Just to follow on positions, you're asking, hi, thank you, Russell. You're asking for 2 positions for the coastal mitigation
That is
program. So
Office of
how many?
Conservation and Coastal Lands.
Yeah, so what are you doing with those 2 positions? Are they ready to go? And what does the mitigation commission do?
Michael
So-
Kane would need to answer.
So that's with our climate commission. That's Leah. So she can come up and answer that.
Yeah, maybe you
question.
got to clear up the difference, the two, how you have 101 broken up,
Sure, okay.
because
good,
that's
yeah.
getting confusing.
Okay. So my apologies. So we actually have 3 under 101. We have land division, then we have OCCL, and then I have climate commissions, all under 101. So I should have been clearer on that description.
And who's in charge of the climate commission? Who?
That's,
Leah.
they fall under Michael Burke, but we have Leah here. who is
And
the
reports to the who?
Reports to Michael Kane,
OCCL.
OCCL. Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll let Leah come up and answer the question about CC map. The 2 positions are our priorities, 34 and 36.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs, Leah Laramie with the Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission. So yes, we requested two positions. One is an administrative assistant. That's to help with all of the administrative tasks that come with. We recently received a $3 million grant from the EPA. And that takes a lot of, invoicing and management and whatnot. That burden has fallen to OCCL's administrative assistant. And since OCCL has been able to fill a lot of their positions, that burden has just become overwhelming. So we really need that additional assistance to help with that. Currently, we've been diverting a lot of time to assist with that position and not able to fulfill a lot of the statutory requirements of the Climate Commission. And then the other position is for an adaptation management specialist or climate program specialist. And that position will really help us again to meet the requirements listed in 225P-3. So we have both requirements to address climate change mitigation and adaptation.
Oh.
Again, because of that $3 million grant, we've been really focused on the mitigation
How
aspect.
long is the grant?
5 years.
Then why is it a permanent position versus a temporary one?
Because we anticipate getting additional funding. So this is just a first.
But you're not sure.
We're pretty confident in the ability to get additional funding. We also have other federal grants. That's the largest one that we've received. We also get funding from U.S. AmeriCorps to hire additional AmeriCorps positions. And we've gotten additional funding from U.S. Department of Transportation for some feasibility projects. So we've
You
been
can't take some of the grant funding to fund this?
not currently, because that was not part of the application, was for administrative assistance.
Why wouldn't that be?
Because we really wanted to focus all of the attention on the deliverables of the grant, including a climate action plan and a preliminary climate action plan, which was published last year.
How many positions do you currently have?
Just the one, just myself.
Just yourself?
Yeah.
So the administrative position would be helpful, notwithstanding just the EPA grant, but just to support the CC map.
So who does the grant execution then? If you're mitigating, what are you mitigating? And how do you determine priorities to mitigate on the monies you bring in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we address a large range of mitigation efforts. So our job is primarily to work with the different state departments to identify, the different areas where they're already working in and where they can expand their efforts for mitigation.
What does the money do?
The EPA money?
Yeah.
Currently, it's to help us to draft a climate action plan,
So none of that goes into actually hardening or dealing with the problem.
all for planning.
What are the results of
How-
your?
How are we going to fix it if we're only planning?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. We'd be happy
mean,
to implement.
Some of the
more
problems are
action.
so obvious. What are you going to do? I mean, if the graves are falling into the ocean, we need a plan. Let's start putting money into implementation.
I absolutely agree with you. We need to put money into implementation.
So why aren't you guys?
So there are some efforts being done by OCCL. So this is just Climate Commission, and they're managing this particular grant. OCCL, through their grant program or through their program, they also are looking at climate, developing with Michael with Sea Grant to help with shoreline mitigation measures, working with the counties, working with private landowners on
They're
developing.
working to
mitigation.
achieve what though? What are we trying to achieve? Because it's good to be busy, but then there's no outcome.
Well, some of it is how are we protecting?
No, I think you guys got to come back to show us exactly what the outcomes are going to be
Okay.
to justify why you need the funding. But a plan, just funding for just planning is a no-go.
Well, if I may, the funding was a grant, so that's federal
Yeah,
funding.
but for these positions,
So for
I'm
these,
not going to support something that doesn't achieve an outcome.
correct. I mean, absolutely, and I think the outcomes that we achieve will be identified within that plan. There's also the decarbonization strategy that was developed by HSCO, so we have an idea of those different like concrete actions that we want to achieve, and then are part of our.
That's
also
all like
duties.
wishful thinking, and we're going to ask for a permanent position.
I don't believe it.
Until you show me a list of real things we're going to accomplish,
Okay.
it's
And-
hypothetical.
Yeah, so maybe what we can do is, there have been grants that have been awarded, and maybe we can provide you a list of all the grants that's been awarded and what the purpose of those
Because
grants
in the
are.
past, we look at OP's report on climate change. We
Okay.
try to find specific projects The governor vetoed that. That was your first year when he said $100 million to climate change. So we actually went through the budget. We funded $100 million worth of projects. He vetoed it. And now you're asking for money for planning when we went through this already 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think once we get to Office of Planning as well, because it seems like there's some communications, it seems like we're talking about the same thing. So it seems like there are some areas
But
that's
there needs to
covered
be a
by
state
DLO.
plan. The problem
Yeah,
is that
but
you
the
have
plan-
OP,
yeah.
you have you guys, you have two divisions. It's all over the place.
And that's a very fair assessment, Senator. And we are trying, so through this climate commission, it is designed to
Yeah.
be.
So why are
you
we
know, all the-
funding you guys for planning? We have a whole Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. Why aren't they doing the planning and you guys doing the implementation? So now you're doing the planning and what are they supposed to do then? They're the whole office for planning.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely coordinating with them in creation of this.
No, but
this
that's
plan.
supposed to be their job.
And I'll just to note on the actual items, we do have a list of implementable actions that could use funding that I can provide to you folks. It's on our grants to projects bridge. So we have a lot of different projects that we've identified on there that are concrete projects that could use funding to implement.
So why didn't you guys propose that? Specific projects that you know are going to make a difference.
My understanding of this EPA grant, it was designed that we would be like a clearinghouse to have communities, different agencies submit grant proposals that we could fund so that they're implementing out in their respective communities to address the various issues related to climate change. So that's what this grant, so this is separate and apart from what OP is doing. This is to enable community engagement and participation.
Separate and apart, but still needs to be
No,
coordinated.
so that's why both
That's the
Mary
problem.
Alice and I sit
There's too
on the
much, too
climate
many
action.
silos
No.
going on.
Yeah, that is a very good question. And we are internally trying to address that even at Climate Commission. Is this relevant? How are we better coordinating with both the counties, Office of Planning? Should this Climate Commission be placed out in OPSD? Maybe that's a better location for them than in DLNR.
Yeah.
I mean, so we are addressing those.
But
very
I agree with
fundamental-
that
Yeah.
though, because we need to make sure that we're not separate and make sure that it's coordinated, because when
Yeah.
we come before us, it seems like we're duplicating something that OP has as well, but clearly we understand and,
No, we have a sense of urgency. That's why we funded
Exactly.
it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is getting stuck in the planning when we got so many things
Yeah.
that we got to deal with.
Nope.
I mean, for instance, the Hanganji, or was it the Soto Mission?
Hmm.
2 years ago, they came in asking for help where graves are falling into the ocean. And we're going to continue to plan.
and that's not your Kuleana though, understand? Yes, we've got to separate
We have to start.
adaptation as well.
So in your list, can you also include who is going to do the implementation? Have you worked with them or not? Because that's what we're looking at. You can have a plan and can sit on a shelf, but what are you doing to actually get it done? And I don't see that, but if you have that, could you submit that
Yeah.
to us?
So let us follow up with you on that, providing you the specific, the role of this and then the specific grants that we're awarding
Mhm.
pursuant to this EPA climate action. But that is the basis for those two position requests.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. I got a question. So now since you guys planning, how long this plan going to take place and how much more money going to take for the plan? Because right now you guys don't have anything to give us on your plan. But you guys have some data that you can share with us on the 2+ years or whatever you guys planning. You guys have information.
We have a priority climate action plan that we can submit to you that was completed last year. And then this plan will be due at the end of the 2025. So that, and that, again, that funding is completely from the EPA. That's federal funding. So it's not taking any state funding to develop.
I understand that. But like I said, I mean, we're talking climate change, sea level rising. We can plan all day, all week, anticipate this and anticipate that. But when we're going to have results, again, we're not blaming you guys for the results, but again, here we are again, not coming up with any results.
Yeah.
And we go in full funding, regardless if the federal funding, I think I pay federal tax, so there's two tax people's money and it's two somebody's money. So unless we have an actual plan or we actually have some kind of results, to me, this is just like money in the air and then disappearing. Depending on the EPA, though, it might be hazardous, the money in the air.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's okay.
Thank-
You guys can come up with some kind of data to give us so we know.
Why don't we go to the
Yes.
next line?
Thanks, Leo.
102, fringe benefit adjustment and federal fund ceiling adjustment. This is page,
What table was that?
table
Table two.
6,
Table six still. Okay.
page 70 for us. And then, so those are almost,
So that is LNR 102. Cynthia, that is.
that's just for fringe benefit
That's just for
adjustment
benefit.
Yes, it's a fringe benefit adjustment.
due to what?
Because they have, because of the salary, adjusted by the CU or the CPA, we have
What is the CBA?
the union agreement.
Yeah.
So.
I know most people watching are not going to understand acronyms.
The salary got adjusted, so that base salary is now
Okay.
higher, and so when we apply the fringe benefit rate, we need
Yeah.
more feeling for that.
Okay. And then the next one.
Same thing with the next one. 172. So this one is.
This is
under
for what,
GovCon, but
federal
the same
grants?
thing. Yeah.
The ceiling.
Forestry.
Yeah. That's DOFA, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, and that's the same, the federal ceiling adjustment.
So then the second year looks like you guys are going to be receiving a lot more.
The 4 million,
Yeah. What's going on here?
this is 172.
You guys are asking for more federal funds and
Table
receiving it?
6, Table 6.
Yeah, so it depends on how the programs are anticipating federal grants. So when they do know that at some point the federal grants are gonna be lower than what is expected, they kind of adjust. So like, for example, the ones that they probably have applied for this year, but they're gonna get it next year. So depending on if it's an
Yes.
increase or decrease.
So they applied for the extra money for the 950,000. And what is this grant supposed to do?
David? If you want-
We have about a federal grant.
No, you guys asked for the money. I don't know. You guys asked for the ceiling increase. So you should know. Yeah, but she just said that that's anticipating additional grant funding. Yeah, so what is that funding supposed to do?
I can get back to you on exactly what grant it is.
I'm sorry that we don't have that specific answer to you right now.
Okay, let's go to the next one then. The 5 million.
This is the 5 million. This is under 172 again, under DOFA. This is for this. So this is when we originally asked for 25 million for but the governor approved 5 million. And this was for protection of forests.
Yes, the forest resilient,
Yeah,
the fire resilient.
yeah.
And so
Fire
where
suppression.
where would this go? What areas are you targeting?
David, why don't you come on up? This is 172. The 5 million, this is the one originally.
So in FY 23, we got 25 million for this fund, the LNR 172.
172.
David, point the mic towards you. Thanks.
Forest and resource management. So the big buckets to that, it goes into forestry generally, but it includes endangered species, invasive species. We have big problems right now with forest birds going extinct, and so a significant amount of money went into.
You can give us a breakdown of the 5 million.
Yeah.
I can give you a complete breakdown. Yeah.
And I just received this from Emma Ewan, who says funds will construct fence to exclude sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs and control ungulates across. This is 20,000 acres. Fence locations include but are not limited to Kauai, Oahu, East Molokai, Maui, and Hawaii Islands. This funding will also help the Sustainable Hawaii Initiative grow to protect 30% of watershed forests by 2030. And These, okay, that was
That's
for
the
the
5
5 million.
million.
That's for the 5 million.
Yeah, in the justification, there's a complete list of a bunch of the projects that we have.
Including the wildlife habitat stuff.
And we have spreadsheets that have them.
That's
line item.
you guys provided for the full 25 or just the 5?
I think the actual total was like 47 million or something. We have needs far and above 25 million. So we have a number of projects. It'll be, some things fall off the bottom, but there's lots and lots of projects that we have that
We
could
can
cover that
whatever you
and,
give us.
and that much again.
Okay, and then the next two, I think we can skip because
Yeah,
they're
okay.
they're almost a duplicate of the previous
Thank
ones.
you.
Just one question. You folks collect admin fees and you collect penalties and fees. What is that budget for that? Do you use some of that for what some of the work that you need to have done
For fees,
for fees or I think in if the Ford Stewardship Program, you say you administer admin fines and fees under the State Reserve Forest System since 2020. Do you collect any monies and
for forest stewardship, we do get a small amount of money.
how much of that do you?
I don't know. We probably get a couple hundred, maybe $300,000 a year.
So what is that used for?
That gets rolled back into forest reserve management. So it's more like more routine type of things, maintaining forest roads, trails, fences, just all the things that go on day to day managing forest reserves. We issue lots of permits. So there's just a lot of associated costs with just managing forest reserves generally. I mean, we have crews out there every single day working on stuff. Fences break, people cut fences, people break in.
That includes your Alahili
Nalahele
system as well?
has funding, but there's a crossover between forest reserves and Nalahele. So, we have a lot of access roads and trails and whatnot on forest reserves that aren't necessarily, some are managed more by the forestry program, some more by the Nalahele program. But just, we manage with the State Forest Reserve program, there's 700,000 acres of land. That takes a significant, every square inch is open 365, 24/7. And so managing, it's managing people and managing the resources out there. So there's just a lot going on.
So that's different from what you're asking us to fund.
Yeah, that's separate
And you're-
from the LNR 172, 25 million ask,
5 million.
which is added above and beyond, the other work that we could do. And I know when it came up a few years ago, the discussion was, well, you can't spend that much money. Well, we did, and we could do it every year. These are ongoing costs. And, in the meantime, we have things like forest birds going extinct and that kind of thing. That's the kind of things we're rushing to try to do something about. We're trying to fill gaps like that so that we can,
Can you get a report of what you fund through the special admin fees that you collect versus what you're asking for?
absolutely. Yeah, we can get you that for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we move on to the 22
Okay,
positions?
Next one is 402. It's the 22 positions.
Yeah, fire. So it got pulled out of the regular budget, put in a separate bill. The governor vetoed it, put it into the major disaster fund, but that doesn't make the positions permanent. So we can't really hire them, and lay somebody off at the end of June. So we need to have those positions to be permanent if we want to do that kind of work. That's all related to fire management. So we're talking about fire breaks, shaded fuel
And
breaks.
so who would these 22 people report to?
They would report primarily to the branches. It would also bring some capacity to our admin section.
So they're not all in one area?
No, they're broken up into every branch. Every island would receive personnel.
So how do you organize training,
Yeah.
consistency?
So those are Michael Walker.
We
Those are-
we have a very good fire management and training.
Yeah, but
program.
my understanding now, our staff kind of play a dual role,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So this is going to be just dedicated.
Well, this is going to supplement some Michael. So this is Michael Walker.
Yeah.
So Michael, if you could answer those questions related to one
Thanks, David.
supervision and training.
Aloha, I'm Michael Walker. I'm the statewide fire protection forester for the division. So each branch, all these people report to the protection forester and the forestry program manager at the branch. And those folks are all on the fire team. So I coordinate the training, but also the branches also have certified trainers that are at each branch. So we all follow National Wildfire Coordinating Group standards, NWCG. And we train our folks in-house with our capacity. And then we also have our state partners through the Northwest Compact that we can get training from, as well as the U.S. Forest Service.
Yeah, but this is a departure from the current approach, right? Because the current approach is you have an existing job, and then whenever there's a fire, you kind of put on your fire equipment and then you go fight it. This looks like it's dedicated fire.
And no, sir, these are all still, fire is still collateral duties for these staff. Many of them are hired. There's heavy equipment operators and mechanics, and there's also people that are dedicated to fuel reduction work, particularly on Maui. That's how I asked each forestry program manager to provide me with a list of positions that they need to support the fire program, particularly at their own branch.
So Senator, it's not just forest firefighting. They also, they do fire suppression. They cut all the vegetation down. They put up fences to keep out ungulates. I mean, there's a multitude of duties that they have, but they also respond to fires. So, but firefighting is, it's both prevention, suppression, and then during the fire.
Okay, but the justification only talks about really fire management, not the other duties you're talking about.
No, it should. It's like increased staffing to increase for resilient forest landscapes to prevent fire.
Yeah.
Prevent fires. So that's all part of the justification.
Hazardous fuel management is a part of the job. That's we have 25% of our state is covered in invasive grasses.
Yeah.
And we manage 26% of the lands in the state. And many of these lands have these grasses on our lands. And so the bulk of the work that we do is fuel reduction and fuel management across the landscape.
Yeah, but
Senator
the first thing is DOFI is primary responder for wildlife fires occurring across 1 million acres. I mean, that's but you talked about the fact that there's other duties that they're going to have at the same time.
Well, yeah.
Because currently the staff kind of has two roles, I thought.
Well, they have, a multitude of roles all dealing with fire prevention. So whether it's with fuel reduction, whether it's firefighting,
And then when there's a fire,
when
they
there's
all
a
suit
fire,
up
then
and then
they
go.
mobilize
Yeah.
to do that, right?
And with all the other agencies
Right.
as well,
Yeah.
and the counties.
And the counties.
Senator Elefante.
Question. On relation to this, I know last session we established the Office of the Fire Marshal, which is housed in the Department of Labor.
Yes, sir.
So how is this funding tied in to that? And then recently we had a proposal from DOD, which had their Office of Fire Marshal established and appropriated in their budget.
Currently, it's unrelated right now. Other than the airport fire rescue folks, we are the state wildfire firefighting force. So until those offices get established in whatever department they are going to be established in, we are going to proceed because we have Chapter 185 mandating that we suppress fires on our landscape and work with our partners across the state to do so on other lands.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
How much of this though should be something you talked about ensuring that we expand forestry?
Mhm.
So like, I know in the areas of Lahaina, we talked about expanding forestry, expanding ag, but
Right. So we also have other divisions within, like the natural area reserves and watershed 407, even 172. So they all work there. There's different ID numbers within Division of Forestry and Wildlife, but they do coordinate and, David is the administrator, but they all have different areas of expertise, but they mobilize together when there is a need to, multiple agencies have to respond in a particular, like if there's a fire on Kauai or on Maui. But each of the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, those different divisions, you have watershed protection, and then you have this natural resources and fire protection. And then we have like the Naala Heli.
okay, so none of these are going to go to what?
No, they're all going to go to, no, these are just going to go, these 22 positions will just go to LNR 402 Native Resources and Fire Protection Program.
Okay,
So we're not.
where's the effort to be proactive then? To
No, so that
expand-
is this, that is this.
Real quick.
No,
Um,
Yes.
I'm asking the chair.
So that is the effort of this program. It is like, how are we preventing forest fires? How are we managing fire fuels? How are we keeping
Yeah.
the ground?
What I'm trying to figure out then is where is the budget request specifically for areas like Lahaina, where we should be starting reforestation already?
So some of those positions will be used for that. Other of those positions may be used more in the upper Malka lands in other branches of.
Okay, well, can you give us a breakdown of how that, where that is? Because you're saying it's folded in. There's not going to be a specific request for that area for reforestry.
No, there may be separate for watershed management that may be helping to protect, let's say, the Malka areas in Lahaina, so that we protect the watershed. That may be a separate funding.
Is that a separate funding?
I don't think we're asking for.
No,
any
so that's
funding.
what I'm trying to get at is why aren't we already trying to figure out the proactive approach for that area? We've talked about it for 2 years as for agriculture and reforestry, but I haven't seen a specific budget request to achieve that.
So if you look at, and these were a governor's adjustment, the 3 million, that's specifically for West Maui fire prevention and Ukumehame wetland. And part of that is specifically designed just to support those fire prevention efforts in Lahaina and specifically at Ukumehame. There's also,
That's going to be a reforestation project.
is that
Reforestation, upland and lower wetland. So restoring the wetlands as well down below.
Okay, well, maybe you guys can present that at some point.
And does that also include NARS too then, right?
So
It
that's
dovetails for itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I do want to convey part of the strategy with also with DLNR and DOFA in particular is there's a multitude, the Malka to Makai. I mean, all of our divisions have to work in a coordinated effort, but each division may have their own area of specialty.
Yeah,
So-
so I was looking for the
Okay.
budget request to
Yeah.
achieve reforestation and making sure that we can get agriculture going back as part of the strategy. Because if not, we're having 22 people, but yet we're still talking about the bigger issues but there's no funding for the bigger issues of actually figuring out which areas we're going to do reforestation, which areas we're going to have agriculture.
So Senator, that was part of the $5 million, the reforestation for LNR 172.
The first ask,
As first ask, as David
but
said.
that's not broken out. So
And this,
That's a watershed protection.
the watershed protection. So we could have spent more money, but that's all that we got in the governor's budget was the 5 million.
yeah, I don't know. I think you have a better time if you broke out
Okay,
specifically for Lahaina,
I see.
how we're gonna, what monies are needed for reforestation and then for Department of Ag or ADC specifically for agriculture. So we can see that those efforts, because if not, the money gets lost. We have no idea. Senator Decoy.
Thank you. So Chair, I was also asked, can you also break out or if the requests in regards to native resources based on your game management plan on the axis deer and then the reforestation in upcountry Maui as well that has taken on major impact?
David, can you answer that? It's a game management.
Is there anything in there for upcountry Maui under the game management and reforestation based on the fires that occurred up there as well?
Excuse me. There's no specific funding for access deer other than what we already have appropriated. So we're still working on the funding that we received prior.
Oh, so they didn't even spend what you had previously.
Well, some of it was over a couple of fiscal years. So I'm not sure exactly where that funding is. I can get back to you exactly on where that is, but we've been working on the fencing and the landowner incentive program to reduce access deer numbers.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because of the game management issue that's going on with access deer, that whole place has been inundated with fireweed. And that has not helped those lands to be grazable, and it's impacted the farmland as well. It's also spread to Molokai.
Yeah.
As you and I know, Chair, when we took that trip up,
Yeah, fireweed's a
Malcolm,
big issue in
it
pasture.
has
right now, yeah.
taken it over. So I kind of want to know if you folks have anything allocated in there to protect that as well.
Specifically related to fireweed and pasture management, that might be more of an ag thing than related to
But it's in your
wildlife
watersheds
management.
as well.
Yeah, and we did have a request under 402. It was for $7.4 million for recurring funds for fire suppression, readiness response, and post-fire restoration and rehabilitation, but that was not approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So
Yes, yes, sir. May I add one more thing to that? So part of that $7.45 million, I allocated $1.5 million to go to fuel reduction
What's
projects on
7.5?
partnership.
We're looking
partner
at the
lands.
22 positions at 1.4. Which one are you talking about?
Yes, sir. And then there's the governor's operating budget, which I believe we asked for 7.45 and it was reduced down to 4 million.
Which page is that on table 6?
Actually, it wasn't funded.
Zero.
Yeah.
Part of the governor's budget, but it's part of our operating.
For fire.
For fire suppression, readiness, post-fire restoration and rehabilitation.
Okay, what page is that on table 4?
It's on table,
Page
page 3 of 11. Oh. Page number.
7 point what?
Oh, one more.
On page 4.
And that's our priority number 14.
Oh, I see it.
That's 7.425 million.
Okay, but part of this, my understanding is there, and I mean, I'm not trying to justify the governor's decision, but part of this ask wouldn't be taking care of federal funds we're supposed to be getting for fire suppression, or no?
So the federal funds have certain restrictions on them. The ones that we get for state fire assistance, we can use for certain things. And then the rest of the federal funds that we get are competitive grant funds. And a lot of those programs have restrictions on what can and cannot be spent. One of those things is water resource development, which is crucial to fire suppression here in the state. There's not a whole lot of water resources. There's not a whole lot of water for also providing for fuel reduction projects like grazing and irrigating some of these projects when you're installing what's called a green break or a shaded fuel break. And so I allocated $1.5 million to help to assist landowners that are adjacent to forest reserves in order to help fund them do fuel reduction projects on their land. That's part of that 7.45. And that was part of our operating ask last year that got moved over to the major disaster fund. We asked for it again this year and it was not included in the governor's budget.
But the governor did make an adjustment of 4 million for fire and emergency response.
Yeah.
So that might have been his.
Okay, well, why don't we just move on for
Okay. Next one is,
Question though.
go ahead.
So the question is what are you guys spending from the MDF though? Because you got the 22 positions out of the major disaster fund, and so you guys didn't make any progress doing any of that with the 22 positions or anything from the MDF, right? On fire suppression, because it's not like you needed the budget from us.
Yeah, to be perfectly frank, it was a bit of a minor disaster for us because once the funding was approved for the major disaster fund, then we had to request the funds from the Department of Defense. And it took a process where the money didn't even hit our accounts until November of 2024. So we were already several months behind in trying to spend these things. We had the $10 million associated with equipment purchase to revitalize our equipment fleet. And we've already got stacks of purchase orders that are lined up, ready to go to start spending down that balance. The 22 positions, however, because we don't have a legal basis, because of the bill SB 3068 was vetoed, there's no legal basis to establish these positions right now.
So you didn't make any progress on the position.
We have all the position descriptions written and ready to go, but we cannot just go out and advertise for these jobs, recruit these people and hire them only to have to say, oh, by the way, in June, we ran out of money because.
Okay. And that's fine. So then you did buy equipment.
We're buying equipment as we speak.
Operational stuff. Well, CIP and some operational
Yeah,
stuff.
the operational stuff. I have a purchase order for $1.5 million to support Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization.
Okay. So you have to work through the money that they released. Then.
Yeah, but we're a little bit behind the 8 ball because we didn't get the funds as soon as we would have liked to have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair.
So sound like you said it's for equipment, CIP, and contracts then. Doesn't sound like any staffing. Because you don't, that's why you need the
1.14 for these 22 positions was allocated for that But we can't do anything with that legally right now until we make sure that we have legal basis to establish these positions and they are going to have future funding. I'm not going to hire people and then tell them that, oh, by the way, your job's gone. Like that, they would never want to work for us again.
Your positions that you have, including your equipment and heavy vehicle construction, they're spread out, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's spread out throughout the islands.
Yes.
Okay. What's
The next request is.
4.25?
Yeah, 4.25, that's to support our invasive species council.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
right.
Yeah, so it's just on DOFA and on invasive species council. How are you coordinating with Department of Agriculture? Because it looks like you're doing the same thing on controlling invasives. So what is being done? And is this 4.2 million coordinated with what Department of Agriculture is doing?
So, no, that is a very fair and good question. So we do have an invasive species council, and the councils is chaired by both myself from DLNR and Department of Ag, Sharon Hurd. So we try to coordinate. We have a memorandum of agreement, including DOA.
The key word is you try to coordinate. You don't coordinate. You try.
Coordinating, we are.
So what does this 4.25
It is to
zero
continue work.
million?
Chelsea
Bye.
is head of our, she is the administrator for the Hawaii Invasive Species Council.
That's you.
Bless you. Bless you. Aloha chairs, vice chair, members of the committee, Chelsea Arnott, program support for the Hawaii Invasive Species Council. In regards to the question, Director Chang made a good reference to the council and how it operates and coordinates with the co-chairs of the Departments of Agriculture and Department of Land and Natural Resources. This funding for the 4.25 million, it really supports our other partner organizations, and also it can serve as a gap filler for a lot of state departments. It's interagency funding. So a majority of our funding every year that we get through the Hawaii Invasive Species Council supports the Island Invasive Species Committees, which are established on each of the islands. They're really the ones that are working on the ground on existing pests. So a lot of the invasive plants like Myconia, little fire ants, even coconut rhinoceros beetle, these invasive species committees are working on. They also support Hawaii Ant Lab.
Yeah, I think you have to articulate what DOA does differently than what you're doing. And that's what she's asking, because supporting, we still don't know how that differentiates between DOA and what you're and DLNR.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you for clarification. So Department of Agriculture has the regulatory authority to do inspection, quarantine, and for agricultural commodities. The other organizations don't have that regulatory authority. They're really working at the pre-border and border ports of the focal areas of biosecurity, and they do some work with the existing pest here in Hawaii. But across the islands, the Island Invasive Species Committees are really the ones that work across the sectors. So they're working on invasives that are impacting environment, agriculture, human health. They can work on a whole degree of those, where a lot of our state departments have specific focal areas. Department of Agriculture is specific to agriculture and protecting those commodities. Department of Land and Natural Resources is focused on environment, natural and cultural resources protection. But the Island Invasive Species Committees are able to work across those sectors and really aren't bound by, jurisdictions, mission statements, whatnot.
Yeah. But the effort last year was to consolidate all the funding to DOA.
That funding is, we still have an appropriation through the Hawaii Invasive Species Council that we receive every year, thanks to the legislature.
That was in the base.
Yes, that's our base of 5.75 million. So the biosecurity bill, which was an amazing increase to Department of Agriculture, is really focused on their biosecurity regulatory authority, increasing positions of the plant inspectors. They're the only ones that can do those inspections at the borders and do those compliance agreements that we see with Oregon Department of Agriculture for Christmas trees. So those pre-border actions. So that funding is critical, and it benefits all of us in the long run when we get that biosecurity capacity increase through Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, so maybe if you could give us specific projects
Yes.
That-
I think the WAM-WTL one is a good example, where it starts out, let's say the Coqui Frogs. They start off on Department of Ag. They've now gone into our forest reserves. So our forestry, our DOFA have now have to expend funds to use a helicopter to put, like, was it citric
Caffeine.
here? The
Yeah,
citric.
or-
So that's where we have coordination, but these pests, they have no boundary barriers. So they cross into forest reserve, that becomes our kuleana. When they're on the ag land, that becomes DOA's kuleana. So, but unless we're coordinated and we try to manage this in a more proactive way, we're going to have this unmanageable level of invasive species, which we currently do have. But that's how we're coordinating. So we're trying to use the same resources, but when we cross over into different jurisdictions, we then take over.
So how are the committees working with DOA and DLNR so that in fact there is on the ground coordination?
Well, they're
Because
supposed to be. The two chairs are DOA and
Right.
DLNR.
But the committees.
The invasive species
that are
committees.
Working on the.
Yeah, that's a great question. Each of the island invasive species committees has a steering committee, and within those steering committees, they have representation from the state departments, DLNR, Department of Agriculture. So they work at the branch levels, as Dave was mentioning. We have branches on each of the islands, and same with Department of Agriculture. So they actually work with the on-island Department of Agriculture staff.
What do they do to actually help in the inspection or in the control when we have the invasive species that are noted in wherever it is? Who goes out and actually starts working with the two departments or the number of departments? Department of Transportation, if it's coming in from the harbors, the
Yeah.
airports.
So
What
when
are
it
your,
comes.
your committees actually do?
Apologies. Yeah. So they don't have the regulatory authority to do inspections. That sits just within Department of Agriculture. But when there is a pest, let's say for coconut rhinoceros beetle, where it's not established on Maui County or over on Hawaii Island, the Island Invasive Species Committees work with the Department of Agriculture to help enhance the effort, right? To go out and monitor coconut trees for any palm damage. They work with the communities to make sure they're engaged and aware and know where to report potential CRB sightings or CRB damage. And so they work on controlling existing pests here, and they work really closely with the Department of Agriculture to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. And
What we tried to do with the bill, though, was to divert all the funding to Department of Ag. That way, there's at least some central point, and we have to create some dashboard. So what you're
Yes.
talking about, then any one of us could go online, look at the dashboard, see which nonprofit, agency, contract, staff went to what area, what they sprayed, when they sprayed, how much they sprayed. And if another group went 3 weeks later, we could see it statewide where people are. That was the whole reasoning of trying to make sure that it went to one entity so that we could do the mapping, consistency, the training, coordination, versus just you telling us in general. We can see it specifically.
Yeah, data sharing protocols are something that we've been working towards so we can have.
I know, but how long
comprehensive-
have we been doing this?
I
And if the
agree.
problem is just getting worse and we don't have that now by now,
We don't have a front-facing dashboard, but I will say we do have a coordinated effort when it comes to some of those priority pests. And there is regular meetings where we discuss each of the islands, little fire ant, coqui frogs, coconut rhinoceros beetle, and make sure we're not duplicating efforts, and also that we're not leaving gaps. And
yeah,
we're
but
making
there's no
sure.
dashboard for us to see that.
I know, yes, we need to work.
Because
on
I
that.
can't tell if Ant Lab went out or DOA went out or
Yes.
DLNR went out or a HISC went. I can't tell when they went, where they went, what they sprayed.
Agreed. And that
Aren't
could
you
be-
also working with the University of Hawaii?
Yes, the Island Invasive Species Committee sit under the University of Hawaii. They're projects of the Pacific Cooperative Studies Unit, but we also fund quite a bit of research through CTAR at the University of Hawaii that will just help us enhance control, management tools, and also just basic biology and distribution for new pests.
And if you recall last year, you asked us very similar questions. How are you guys coordinating? So as a result of that request, we established a memorandum of agreement between DOA, DLNR, and University of Hawaii to prioritize these pests. So I think the first one was little fire ants. So to do exactly that you're suggesting, how are we coordinating so that we're not duplicating, we don't fill the gaps? So that MOA is supposed to be designed to articulate what our specific roles are. A component of that is supposed to be a communication or a public facing, whether you call it dashboard. And I'm not, and obviously we haven't quite implemented that
Yeah,
yet.
but we've been dealing with invasive species for quite some time, and we're not at the point where we should be.
Yes, I think this is something the council can push, and we have shared databases amongst the agencies, but we just don't have a public front facing.
Yeah, see, and that I feel like
Yeah.
that's the problem is there's too many agencies, but you're not sure who's really in control of the dashboard, the overall contracting, making sure there's consistency.
Yeah, we can work closely with Department of Agriculture.
And I think you should include IT as well in any of the DLNR divisions to help. But the chair is correct, though. We need the community needs answers and to create something that can go on board and just look at it and see what agencies are responsible.
So we
Yeah.
will move into that.
A question with regards to coconut rhinoceros beetle. With regards to your folks' working groups and your meetings and your collaborating, it doesn't sound like you guys, either DLNR or Department of Agriculture, has any clear-cut plan to, well, eradication of CRB is out. Any plan to contain? I mean, millions and millions of dollars is being spent on these efforts. Used to have those black lanterns throughout the communities. Those are all gone. If you go onto the west side, all the coconut trees are all whacked. There's none left. So with all of the meetings and all of the working groups, and millions of dollars being spent, is there any solution, any plan whatsoever with CRB specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we know each of the islands are in a different place. We're preventing and we are containing and making sure what happens on Oahu doesn't happen to Maui County or Hawaii Island. When it comes to eradication, you're right. We're not going to be able to eradicate it from the state, but we can do better management. And so we are exploring biocontrol for coconut rhinoceros beetle. We're working with the University of Hawaii very closely, and they're working on the SOP and the permit to bring in the virus that has been effective on controlling CRB in other Pacific islands where it's been established there longer. So that'd be a huge game changer for areas like Oahu that are severely impacted, and hopefully it would manage the population to a level where we wouldn't see the level of damage that we have right now on palms and other species.
Okay, with regards to that chemical that you're talking about bringing in that was being used for other Pacific islands, do you have that information now? Do you have that to share with
I can
right
give
now?
an update on it. It's the researcher is Dr. Mike Melzer, and we're actually having an invasive species informational briefing on Friday where University of Hawaii will be presenting, and we were specifically asked to get an update on coconut rhinoceros beetle. So he'll be able to provide an update on that. And it's a natural enemy, so it's importing something from the native range of coconut rhinoceros beetle that is able to keep the population down in there. And so we need to do testing to make sure it'll be effective on coconut rhinoceros beetle here. It wouldn't have any non-target impacts also.
Okay, just make sure that when you guys are doing your studies that it doesn't kill off other natural native species as well,
exactly.
because what's good for one might not necessarily be good for another. So we just want to make sure. But I do just want to closing comment. Please work on plan B, C, and D. We should be able to at least have multiple solutions for at least CRB. It sounds like little fire ants kind of, we've got a hand on it a little bit sooner rather than later. So that's good. But we can't continue to allow our coconut trees just to get blasted all throughout the islands. But that's it. Thank you.
Well, the scary part is it's not just the coconut tree,
Yeah.
right? Because the beetle has now moved on to other plants, which is going to affect agriculture.
Yes.
So we really want to try to push with Department of Ag. It's how do we prevent them at the border? How do we keep out invasive species from transmitting from one island to the next, or even coming into Hawaii? So we share your frustrations. I mean, we're really frustrated. We just cannot get a good handle on invasive species. We are trying to be better coordinated. I mean, an example, H1N1 bird flu, not invasive species, but so DOA, DLNR, and DOH have been collaborating. We have agreed that DOA is going to be the communications will run through them. Testing will be done by DOH. DLNR is going to help collect any specimens that are out in the community. And then DOA will be the one that gets the communications out. So we hear your frustration on the communities. We are trying to be better. The problems are enormous, but we are trying to be better at coordinating where the agencies intersect with each other. How can we more effectively communicate to the community as well as utilize our resources in a
Well,
more.
part of it is you need better public awareness campaigns. And we talked about that at the last Department of Ag meeting.
You're right.
You know, unfortunately, that got cut. We had the $20 million in that included a public awareness campaign. And so we have to solicit the public's help.
Yes.
I agree.
No, you're right. So that's what we're hoping also with these our existing networks on all islands, using them as a mechanism to get information out. But this is a monumental task. So I share the frustration, and we are trying our.
I mean, I'm a little bit concerned if communication is going to go through DOA. One of the things that Department of Health did, which was revealing, was they told us how many press releases they actually sent out. So that's going to be my next question to every department.
Okay.
How many press releases did your PIO send out? Because I think some PIOs aren't doing enough.
Well, I know our communicate, Dan Dennison does it
Every day.
Every day.
Every day we have
Yeah,
announcement.
so he's doing a great job. I can't answer how many specific press releases we've sent out on any one of these, but we do have to do a better job on communicating with the community, whether it's through a dashboard and or other mechanisms, but we're trying through our partners as well.
You know, going further, 1 second, with regards to that bird flu disease as well, very concerning and with regards to communication.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked when I was at Coconut Island yesterday in my district, and these couple were feeding the birds and they were all around them. I would say there were several dozens of them, and it even got into their heads, but they were enjoying it. But communication, as the chair is saying, is really important to get the message out. Anyway, just to
Okay.
add, thank you.
Question.
Senator Morinwaki and
Thank
then
you.
Chair.
4.25 million, can you tell us how you're using it? Because this dashboard is critical, even in terms of knowing outbreaks and where they are, so people can know where and what to do about it. So there's control, even if it's among yourselves that have one common dashboard.
Yes, so I did
No,
put in there, I budgeted
Gotta be
for
separate.
a data coordinator, because it's a full-time job and we've been trying to do it through our council and other positions, but data coordination is a full-time job and we really want to mirror it to what's happened with.
Part of it, though, it could be what we're talking about is the structure. I don't think the current structure is working. I don't think this invasive species council and the way it's all split up, I don't think it's working. It's obviously not. And so we have to relook at restructuring how we're going to approach biosecurity, because the current way of doing things is not working. Period. And so either you're going to come up with something or we will.
Chair, can move on.
Okay, what's the 500,000?
Oh, Senator McKelvey.
Yeah, just a real quick comment on that. Maybe we should look to the Border Protection Agency as a model to put everything in-house under one agency where its mission is border protection. Fireworks or fire ants, it's all accountable. We're trying, they're trying. Maybe it's time for us to look at that structure. Anyway, thank you, Chair.
No, that cannot help. Okay, 500,000.
That's going to Hawai'i Lab, Chelsea?
Yeah, the 500,000 is for the Hawaii Ant Lab, which is also University of Hawaii project of the Pacific Cooperative Studies Unit. They are the primary leads with developing research. So the treatment and monitoring protocols that are successful at controlling little fire ant today are developed by the Hawaii Ant Lab. They have no long-term stable funding. They are working on a piece by piece every year trying to find funding.
Yeah,
to
but you
support
know
the
what? Like I go
program.
back to, there's no overall plan. And so all we're doing is funding this, funding that. Everyone's creating their own little plans, and there's not a big stage strategy that everyone has to implement.
We do have an interagency biosecurity plan that's on the 8th year of implementation, and we are using that and tracking that in terms of
But
like.
that's laughable. If 8 years we're implementing and the problems are getting worse.
Yeah.
Okay, how does that even sound good?
But I think Hawai'i Lab has been successful. I mean, I think they do have a proven track record of their method of eradication for little fire ants?
Yeah, they could be. I'm saying the overall state
No.
strategy though isn't necessarily working. So you could have some small successes with certain agencies, but in the big picture, we might be winning some battles, losing the war.
In my
So we
meeting,
gotta look at that. We look at that. We should be winning the war.
I was just notified that CTAR is going to locate the Ant Lab over to one of its new improvements to CTAR's problems on the Big Island. And I understand the Ant Lab will be part of it.
Okay.
You know, another thing that I think is not, what I did not hear is the civil defense getting involved. Because I really think we're at the point where if you do have coconut rhinoceros beetle in your community, you should get a text already.
Yeah.
If you got fire ants in your block, that zip code or whatever should probably get a text already saying, hey, you know, look for it, call the number, here's the hotline. I mean, why aren't we being more proactive like that
Yes, we can be. And we're,
after 8 years or longer?
yes, yeah, and invasive species, there's just more and more that are at our borders that we're trying to prevent and more that are spreading.
We're doing it all in
throughout the islands.
vacuums. We're doing it all in silos. It's not coordinated. We're not including the public. We got to change things.
Sure. So you know how the public know about the rhinoceros beetle? All the trees dead. That's how we find out. Too late.
Yeah.
All of Harbor's trees died a long time ago. Which in rec, I don't know what they're doing. All those traps you guys talking about gone. We have nothing. We have topless palm trees. Now the ones that they have inside the reserve to replant, they're dying too. So again, you guys are trying to stop them from coming in. How are we stopping them from coming in when it's coming in on the fertilizers? Those are the things that we gotta look, because that's what they're using for not only the new subdivisions, Coral Peely, Coral Ridge. They're putting in these trees, and then before you know it, the subdivision is not even done, and the trees are dying. So how are we keeping tabs on that? You know, that's what we gotta know. I mean, it's just kind of frustrating. You guys talk to any local community members that maybe were studying it longer than 8 years, and maybe they have a little bit input to eradicate the rhinoceros? I get plenty of calls. I don't have time to return them all, but there's a lot of local Hawaiian indigenous communities that says that they have a solution for it, but they cannot get to go to anybody, but they're not from the university, they're not part of you guys Hui, so they cannot get anybody to answer their calls. So they call me, and I guess what? I don't know who I got to call for, send them to me to find out how they can bring their information on how maybe they have a technique to go instead of waiting for somebody else give you the method of killing these rhinoceros beetles. So that's what I would want on contact information, so I can send them to you guys. Maybe you guys can try their release, because they're on our side of the island. But I cannot direct them to anybody, so that would be something that would be good too.
And then also, I would like to add to that, if we're asking the public to weigh in and the public to get involved, I think we really need to level up our responses, because I'm not sure which hotline, 643 PEST, if that's under your purview or under DOA's purview, but since you are all on the same working group, I will say that I have had community members contact, and they just get kind of, brushed off. Oh, freeze it. Oh, mail it in. Oh, okay, we'll monitor it. Oh, this, oh, that. So there's not any clear-cut answers for the public when they call as well. So, I'm not sure necessarily exactly how much funding is going to that. But I mean, if we want the public to get involved, we have to let them know that they're getting involved with a legitimate department that is actually really working towards, has solutions, knows what to do, and is solid in their responses. But I've been getting poor responses from the community when they do reach out. So let's just make sure, if we're asking the community to get involved, that we're solid on our end.
Another thing too, I think we've got to move along. So any questions, members, please stick
Okay,
with
why
the
don't we move
budget
on
as
to
well.
$3 million?
Thanks.
So that's the governor's adjustment. The $4 million, that's FY 26 for fire and emergency response.
And what is this going to do?
That, I think that was the one that.
So how many acres is the wetland?
The wetland that's for the Ukumehame.
Yeah, how many acres is this project?
David, do you have an answer for that one? How many acres is the governor's? This is.
Yeah, David Smith, I
4 million.
believe that acreage on that wetland is about 25 or 30 acres. But the project's much larger. It goes all the way Malka. So it's a Malka to Makai, Ridge to Reef type of project. designed to bring a more resilient landscape that is less prone to fire.
Okay, so if you look at the entire area, is there a priority list of making sure we get these 5 areas with reforestation or agriculture? I'm not sure how this fits into something like that.
Yeah, well, we manage our land, so we're looking from Malcolm, Malaya. We just bought a parcel up there, just above Malaya Harbor. And it's gonna wrap all the way around.
Okay, so whose job is it to look at the whole
Right.
area?
Right.
Because it's not gonna be very
Yeah.
effective if you say, oh, we're gonna take care of one area.
Yeah.
And then you still 22 acres,
Yeah.
and then you still have thousands of acres not covered.
Good question. So there's a pilot project that was recently funded by the federal government to University of Hawaii. Our OCCL and DAR is intimately involved. It's like $60 million to look at a whole swath of land from David O'Brien for that project. What is the area, the geographic location for that? Yeah, the Sea Grant.
For Maui, it's the Wailuku area.
Okay.
Oh, so not even Lahaina.
I thought there was a project in also.
Okay, you guys go look at that, but we gotta look at something more comprehensive, and at least if this is one component of a bigger comprehensive plan with a timeline of how we're gonna achieve all of it, kind of makes sense. But if we're only gonna do something isolated,
No, so when we're looking at these things, we're looking at that as a whole, looking at the Maka to Makai and how can we be the most effective. So we have DOFA prioritizing where are the hot spots. I mean, where are the priority areas that we need to put funds to? It's not always happening.
okay, but is it only state lands that you're looking at, or we're
State
looking?
lands, and to the extent that we can get private partners. So our watershed partnership, a lot of that are private partners.
Yeah, no, all I'm suggesting is we need to tell the private landowners, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z. And at some point, you're gonna have to come in with some enforcement powers to say, you didn't comply, now we have a fine.
But,
Because if not, what?
yeah, no, we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're trying to.
We
do
have gotten
education.
to that point.
no.
What are you talking about? There's been a huge fire that burned the community. We're at that point. We need to make sure landowners are gonna be responsible.
But we're also trying to get them to be cooperative. So that's part of the money that.
No, so you can have some carrots, but you need some sticks in there.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Just to bring to your attention, I've just found out, and I think maybe you folks have been alerted, Maui County now is asking to have the West Maui, all of the streams and the water issues be established under the county of Maui. They've already by I guess,
But that's an info briefing, because that's not a budget request.
yeah, but the thing is that the responsibilities for all the things we're talking about, the streams as well as the fire suppressions, gotta be coordinated because West Maui wants to take control of all of the streams and the watersheds. So the coordination needs to get to the Maui County as well.
Yeah, like
because somehow
I'm not really
yes.
comfortable, to tell you the truth, funding these 22 positions with the 1.4 million, unless you start to do other things so that we're gonna start finding landowners as well who don't. You need both.
Well, we'll commit to doing that. We'll commit to a stronger
You know,
enforcement.
so we need
that
a bill
keep
from
those
we
two.
need a bill from the department. If you need enabling legislation, so you can do findings, so that you can tell landowners, or you're gonna do it for them. Like I know that when I was at the city, if they gotta go and clean your part of the stream, they charge you. And so if you have to end up going in their property because they're refusing to do it, then you charge the landowner.
Appreciate that. We
But
will
you
look
should be
into
looking at
existing resources.
existing legislation as precedent.
But with regards to the 22 positions, and I tend to agree with the chair, however, though, there are some important positions that needs to be coordinated, like our equipment operators, because they're the ones that's going to the forest to do the work. As an example.
It has to be more comprehensive, that's all. It just can't just be the 22 and our projects. We got to look at the whole area, and we can't necessarily do the landowner's job, but then we still have ability, like you mentioned, either grant funding plus the ability to fine and ensure compliance. Okay,
All right.
4.2.
So that was.
Oh, no, that was the one up, 4 million.
That was the 4 million, and then the 3 million was again for.
Yeah.
We covered that one. So
Yeah.
the next one is LNR 407. It's the 5 million CIP for statewide watershed protection. So that is part of our overall comprehension. That's the CIP 407. LNR, well, you know, I'm looking at CIP.
Oh, wait.
So
No, we're still on table
We still
6.
look
Yeah.
at- I know, so sorry. So I.
So the governor had another
Okay,
adjustment
okay.
for 4 million.
So the next one after the DOFA is CWORM 404.
No, the 402, 4 million.
Okay, what am I missing? I'm missing.
I think this is kind of what Senator
See?
Hashimoto was talking about. Why isn't this taken out of the major disaster fund?
That's on page 4, Chair.
This is the governor's adjustment
Yeah.
for 4 million?
Sir, may I comment on that?
Yes.
So last year, we asked for 7.45 million as our operating budget. Those funds are divided up into prevention, pre-suppression, and suppression. So prevention is all about the activities of going out into the community, establishing Firewise community programs, supporting Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization, which is all a part of the AG's and FSRI's report. So we dedicated $1.5 million to that. There's other programs in there, which is a lot of the recovery work, post-fire work that's in there. We actually had $1.5 million that we wanted to work with landowners that are adjacent to the forest reserves to do a lot of these fuel reduction programs. We're only mandated by Chapter 185 to work on our lands. However, we see that the problem is much larger than that. And we want to work with adjacent landowners adjacent to forest reserves to just start working on this problem, as well as around communities. And so the $1.5 million is there to fund projects that
No, we're talking about the 4 million.
Yes, so we got reduced to $4 million this year. We asked for 7.45 and we still want 7.45 to do that, because that will allow us to expand out and work with our neighbors as well as other agencies like DHHL to work on fire problems on their lands.
Yeah, so this would go to help private landowners.
So currently what we're doing right now is that there's a federal competitive grant program called Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program. About $60 million in applications went through last year, and only planning ones were funded. So I'm looking at those right now to help both fund those projects. Some of them are on Haleakala Ranch.
That's
as well.
fine. I just go back to, if we're going to be helping private landowners with state dollars, yet we still don't have any compliance or enforcement ability. So that when they don't help us, even though we're giving grant money.
Well, so we can make that a condition of the grant. If they don't comply with the terms of the grant, then we seek a reimbursement.
Oh, we should.
Well, not
have
just
it,
that,
yeah.
we have to make sure that they maintain their land so that they don't perpetuate fires.
The challenge we have is that, as Michael was saying, we have only jurisdiction over public lands.
Yeah, but you're also giving money to private lands. And so if you're going to give this money out, I'm asking the department to come in to ask for additional power. So if you're going to give out money to private lands, that you also can ensure compliance.
Okay, so that would be a separate legislation. Okay.
But you're talking, and the chair is right. We can only fund public land informations and land ownerships. Now, the county also is responsible for their kuleana with regard, because they're the ones that's approving the zonings and everything else for other, private developments. So I think the counties and your communication should be very active with the counties. There are a lot of responsibilities that they should be in charge of. Just to share that, because it seems like we're covering everything.
So now we're going to move from fire to water.
Okay.
404.
Yeah.
So let's see where, so.
400,000.
Yeah. So the first one is our priority 25. It's the $400,000 to continue the USGS joint funding agreement. I think, Kira, you want to come up on that? Walk through your C1 budget.
Yes. So this $400,000 is not for the entire joint funding agreement. It is to expand the joint funding agreement. Our current joint funding agreement with USGS is about
So what does this get us?
What does this get us?
Yeah.
Monitoring for 16 streams on Maui. I can break them down for you if you want. Central Maui, it's Waihe'e Wailuku Waikapu. West Maui, Honokahau Kahoma Ka'ua'ula Ukumehame. East Maui is Honopo, Na Ili Ili Haile, Ka'aea, Puo Kamoa, Honolulu, Kopiliula, Hanavi, Halehaku, Avalau. So these are streams that have been particularly controversial. You know, we have in-stream flow standards set for each of these streams. What we're trying to do is make sure that, one, those are accurate. So to get updated information to see if we need to update the in-stream flow standards, and also to ensure compliance with our in-stream flow standards for those streams.
So how often do you do them?
This monitoring under USGS, they will go out about every 6 weeks and actually collect the data. Some of these monitoring stations are actually equipped with telemetry so that they're able to provide continuous real-time data.
Yeah. So when was the last time they were measured?
The last time these were measured, I would have to look. It's all publicly available online. And so I can provide you the links to the actual gauge pages
Like
that were
how many
updated.
years ago?
Oh,
They're pretty current.
yes. So we
Yeah.
are not currently monitoring all of these 16 streams, but we're monitoring, I would say, most of them. About 11 or 12 are currently monitored.
Okay, because you're asking for 400,000 in the base.
To be added to base, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be continuous monitoring?
Yes.
Okay. 250,000.
250,000 and then 150,000 in the following year for the Central Maui hydrologic study. Yes. So
It's a study, but then you're asking it at least 150 to be in the base?
oh, no, this should not go to our base budget. We only need 400,000 total for the study. And then once the study is completed, it'll support redrawing our
So
hydrologic.
why did you guys break it up?
That must be a mistake.
So it should be 400,000 1 year?
It should be 400,000 divided between 2 years, the next 2 years.
That's,
So you don't need the 250,000?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had moved on. We're
Yeah,
still
we
talking
did.
about the
It's page
USDA.
5.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is to be added to our base budget.
oh, okay.
No, you're looking at the central.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, 37, priority 37.
But the
central
second
budget.
line is not to the base. The 400, 200, 200.
This?
That's a hydraulic investigations.
Yeah.
No, these should not be added to our base budget.
Okay.
Okay.
These are
Just for 2 years.
specific
Okay.
studies, yeah. But they're-
Why did you break it up versus just doing 400,000 1 year?
We would be happy to take
No, I'm
400,000
asking
in a
why.
year.
You broke it up. I'm just asking why you guys did it this way.
Because USGS contemplated doing a slightly front-ended funding for this study. So we're actually talking about 2 phases of study for Central Maui.
Okay.
And I can provide more information on the timeline for this study if you'd like.
No, if it's the same study, I'm just wondering why it's divided into 2. But if the federal government requested it this way?
They contemplated that they would front-end the funds for phase 1 of the study.
But you're already also coordinating it with UH, but that's only the assistance, but it's not costing us money with university.
We're not currently working with.
So the 200,000 you put in, the feds are going to put in another 200,000 and then you pay them back the second year? Is that what it sounds like?
Oh, no. So
You said they were going to front the money.
they contemplated that the funding for the study would be slightly front-ended for phase 1, but no, we have a cost share agreement with the federal government, so they will cover a portion.
Okay, so
of the
they're not
cost.
going to front. They're just going to do cost share.
Right.
Okay. Okay, 350.
That's the one with the university.
This is the Mesonet.
Oh, for Mesonet? Yes, this is with the University of Hawaii. So this is a portion of the funding for Mesonet. Their total needs are about $600,000, so we're covering about 60% of that. This is going to be a network of stations across Hawaii that collect a lot of different kinds of data, rainfall, soil, moisture, a lot of things that help us with monitoring the impacts of climate change, and in addition can be used to assess wildfire risk.
And that's statewide.
This is statewide, yes.
Okay. 405,
That's still care.
616.
So these are, so this is the.
Oh, salary adjustment.
Salary
salary
adjustment.
adjustment. It's It's because they all came in as Creo ones, and then now we want to push them up to the Creo 3 salaries. So this is for all the.
So this is after they've met certain standards.
Yes, and they've actually
Yeah.
been in a position, so this is really important for retention and
Yeah.
morale. So that's where the,
Okay,
the
what's
52
the
positions.
500,000
The $500,000 is for, that's for.
overall? Oh, just increased costs.
Yeah, increased costs.
Okay, and what's
And then the other
1.5?
one is for, as well as equipment.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's because the overtime is because you don't have a full
Right.
staff yet.
Well,
right?
this, no, a lot of this is like, for example, wasn't this, Jason, Lahaina?
Good afternoon, Jason Redula, Enforcement Chief. So the 1.5 is to support extended law enforcement operations and natural disaster response,
Yeah.
like we saw at Lahaina,
Yeah.
like we're seeing in West Oahu right now, with our presence out there 24/7.
Yeah. But part of that is because you don't have the full 400 or 450 or whatever it is. So you're having to compensate with overtime.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, 190, 407. Who's 407?
That's yours.
oh,
That's yours. It looks
oh,
like
four-
a ceiling
four-
adjustment.
okay.
NARS.
No, that's a federal ceiling adjustment, 407, 801.
Because money's coming in?
Yeah, I think these are federal, these are the same, that situation that we had federal funds, right? Yeah.
They're just increasing it. The feds are just increasing the amount.
And we're matching,
Yes,
right?
they're anticipating they're gonna get some, grant increase.
Yeah, what was that a result of?
Or grants, please. The program continues to kind of like, apply for more grants during the year. So anticipating that it's gonna be, approved the following year.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's that's the end fund and the
And then the B
special fund or fringe.
And the next one is 801, Dobar,
Okay,
and that's the funding for the three.
yeah, from A to B.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. And then.
ceiling adjustment.
Yeah, and then the next one is 804.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
while we're on 801, FEMA reimbursements, why aren't we asking, we didn't apply for it as well, and why? Because on your budget, on your reimbursables, you did receive some, but we haven't applied for the reimbursements. Do we know why? And it's on page 1, and I think it's on your table 15 while we're on it. 16, I'm sorry.
Table 16.
And that included the Mala boat ramp, the removal of your
CAP request.
the piles and anchors, and all of them were all on the Lahaina issue.
Oh, that's. CAP. This one?
And it's on your page 16.
Page 16.
Yeah, 16, and it's on your page 1 and it's the expenditure and encumbrances. You know that the wildfire responses and FEMA's contribution. So all from, it's all 801, yes.
Table 24. Oh,
And where it says reimbursement applied for, and you have no, all the way down for your 5 sections.
okay. So here, this is.
I guess what she's asking is why are we
Yeah,
asking for
why-
reimbursement?
Oh, thank you, Senator. So we are applying that. That's definitely an error. What happens is that we have to expend the funds first before we apply. So we have put in.
And you did receive some,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, so we have put in our applications for reimbursement for everything that's happening in Lahaina.
Okay, so,
Oh, so that whole list.
so
Yes.
all this is, so you have applied then?
Yes, we do have everything. So sorry, that was done in error.
Okay, all right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Senator.
A question since Megan is there. Hi, Megan. For the 4 positions we gave you last year, have you executed on those? You asked for 3 raises. What is the status of those positions?
Do you know what?
We gave you
position-
4 positions.
We had 2, I think, harbor agent, 6 positions that we were creating.
Did you-
So it's a new class that we're working on with personnel. So we are working on those. So no, we have not been able to fill those. That's,
Why is personnel taking so long?
no, it's not on personnel. It's not on personnel. It's a brand new, our harbor agent position was a harbor agent 5. So what we were looking to do is establish a harbor agent 6. And again, I've heard your comments about why we create positions while we have to do reorg. So we're working on that portion of it as well. So understand. So that's
these
supposed to be,
additional positions are in addition to the ones you didn't yet fill, these 2 positions.
these,
They're different.
that you're
they're different, yeah. So that you're talking about the 3 that we have now?
The ones that
You're asking for. You're asking.
No, so we're not asking for 3 positions. All we're doing is changing the method of,
Yeah.
of-
It goes from
right.
to B.
Right, so it was general funds. We're asking for it to be special funds.
Yeah.
Special funds.
Yes,
Yeah, they're giving us money back.
yes, we are. You're welcome.
That's why there shouldn't be any questions on the agencies that give us money back.
But
Unless
also
you're
in your
gonna recycle
CIP
it.
is being done on the money that we gave you for CIP for the fixing of the harbors at Hawai'i.
Correct. Yeah, Finn, our engineer, is working on many CIP projects, especially the one at Alawai for you, Senator.
Yeah, that's badly needed.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, next.
The next one after that is LNR 806, the ceiling increase of motor vehicles. That's the $1 million. And that's actually for state parks to upgrade all their equipment.
Okay.
Can we
Next.
go to 802?
No, let's go down the list.
This is 802, SHPD.
No, we did. That was just a federal fund.
Yeah, that was.
That's just a federal fund.
Okay, I have a
ceiling
question
increase.
for SHPD then. Okay, couple of questions. I'll make it fast. And we understand congratulations coming over to the department, badly needed. What's your schedules for permit applications? And I only say that because there's many in my membership right here on this table is asking for, there's applications that are still waiting to be approved.
You're talking about just the permit.
Application sitting.
Statewide.
Correct.
So currently we are couple things. Currently we are working to process by priority West Maui recovery projects, both in Lahaina and the Kula area. So permits that are coming in for West Maui, we're trying to prioritize all of those permits so that they are not delayed. In terms of 60 permits overall, we also prioritize housing, health services, transportation, or infrastructure projects, things like that,
Okay.
that come in under different categories of 60 review. whether
Okay,
it's
I just wanted to add as well, on Wailuku itself, there's sitting an application for creating housing, affordable housing, and they're already moving as well. And so they're asking why there's a delay for creating, for approval for this, but I'll send you the information. Maybe I already did. Secondly, we increased the archaeologist's position several years ago. 2 years has gone by, they have not gotten their raise.
No, we gave pay differential for almost the whole
Yes,
division.
but what happened? Because they have been waiting for their raise.
Well,
And I think you
Yeah.
Oh,
probably
did you
have
did you
had.
guys?
We did.
We did.
Allocated the entire, okay.
that was finalized this summer,
Oh.
end of June.
Okay, but
beginning
that
of
raise
July.
should have been gone 2 years ago because,
Yes.
yes.
No,
okay.
I wouldn't
No,
call
no.
it a raise. It's a pay differential
pay-
because
Well,
the thing is, it had to be adjusted. If not, you're losing, you can't keep
right,
anybody
the
there.
retention was- Right.
Yes, yep. And so there were a number of steps that we had to, from my understanding, that we had to meet, including a reorganization and things like that. The reorganization was finalized. I want to,
And why did why were the feds involved with approval process? Because the complaints that we had from the archaeologists was that they've been waiting these last several years and they've been getting information or no information from the office. And I'm sorry because we had some issues with personnel leaving and retiring and as well. So, but we're all okay now?
Yes, we should
Okay.
be. And the reason for the issue, from my understanding with the federal positions, is that six of our positions in office are federally funded. And so the pay differential for the treatment of those federal positions was slightly different. It also requires that we essentially freeze 2 of our federally funded positions that we have in order to compensate the other 4 federally funded staff people with that pay differential. So there's 2 architectural historian positions we cannot fill so that we can meet the pay differential and keep our archaeologists paid at a higher rate.
Well, that was the process that we went to with the rate increase anyway, because
Yeah.
that was approved and long overdue.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Okay, next. Oh, go, you had a question?
Yeah, so I guess it's not necessarily the pay differentials though as well. It's the positions that we gave you, right? So
Yes.
we're finally at a point where we're hiring, right? Because I
Yes.
think that this time 1 year ago it was stuck somewhere,
Yep.
right? And so the progress is you're out recruiting, I assume.
Absolutely. We are waiting any day now. We should have postings for some of the archaeology positions posted. We're working diligently with fiscal and the deal in our fiscal office and our HR office to get all of the postings posted as quickly as possible.
Now, I heard that at some point these positions potentially could convert to civil service positions. Is that true?
Yes.
And why is that?
It's my understanding that a bill was passed that tweaks some language that I can't remember the reference off the top of my head, but it would require us within 3 years to convert any exempt position to a civil service position within 3 years. And we do, I believe, have a bill proposed that would amend that language to allow us to continue to maintain our exempt positions.
So,
So
so
that-
this is not just for you though. This is for every exempt position the legislature
Yes,
creates.
yeah, and the language in the proposed bill would, I believe, amend that language for any state office that has a similar situation where we have exempt positions, and in order to maintain them to be paid at the level that they're at and not reduce wages, and to make sure that we can retain those staff people, we're asking for that language to be changed.
So Senator, if I can just clarify, that bill is only for SHPD.
Yeah.
Because what happened is when there was the pay differential, they were all, then they moved into becoming civil service positions.
Right, that was.
So now we're trying to fill these other positions, and DHERD is saying, well, you're totally out of alignment because these positions are getting paid much higher than other similarly situated
Well, that's,
archaeologists.
yeah, but
So that's why, so that's why we've got a bill in that permits us the flexibility to have both exempt as well as civil.
But that's
service.
just DHERD
But
causing
that's-
problems. I mean, the reality is
Exactly.
they don't understand what each department has to do.
Yes. So we believe but we believe that with this legislation, it will give us the flexibility to retain the positions we have and then pay them at the competitive salary.
But you're saying that the bill well, I guess it's floating around will go to labor, but you're looking at the entire state.
No.
Civil service.
No.
Are we gonna
They
have?
said only for SHPD.
Yeah.
This bill is limited for SHPD.
I thought earlier I
She
heard you.
corrected-
Yeah.
Okay,
corrected.
all right.
Be corrected. We're
Okay.
targeting just SHPD, but I think the way that the language is written is to allow like agencies to make the appeal, similar legislation in the future.
So
that they might-
where do you get the funding to increase those salaries or give them a different pay than what was already allocated?
No, that was budgeted.
That was budgeted, yeah. We
Higher
already
amounts are
did.
budgeted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already gave them that a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
And
Yeah,
that
because that's when it was like at a standstill. We couldn't get anything out of SHPD. And so,
Right.
and unfortunately, they couldn't keep staff because they kept getting poached.
exactly,
It's like the engineers' positions.
Yes.
exactly. Yep.
So it was holding up development.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So we are moving faster.
So this bill is important because it actually sets a precedence for other departments though,
Exactly.
because if we give
Exactly.
them
Right.
their civil service, they're gonna tell you.
So you
gotta
have
go to
an
civil
admin bill
service.
then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Well, one last question. So you, I know there was a concern over needing funding for your technology system. Was that a request or is that something you still need?
That is something that we still need. So you all helped to fund and created the HICRIS intake system, which allows people to digitally submit their permits to us, as well as government agencies, whether they're state or federal, to submit their projects to us under 6E or Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. It also allows citizens who have an account or interested parties who are submitting to us access to our records. And that requires consistent management and maintenance and growth to expand as projects get submitted.
So where are we?
Right now we have a reoccurring budget of around $150,000 to $250,000, depending on how many hours we can pay for, because we have to pay for the hours of work in advance. And right now we are using every dollar in our budget that we can to put towards the system. It's not quite enough to make the changes and to buy the additional space and to continue to work out all the kinks that we need to.
So is there any request coming in?
There was a request, but it didn't end up being in the budget.
How much was it
wasn't
for?
approved.
How much
It was
was it?
for an additional, I believe, $250,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
next.
Chair.
Thank you, Ben. So next is, I think we talked about LNR 806. That was the 100.
No, yeah, we moved on. I think a couple past that, aren't we?
Okay, that's great. Are we on 906? Let's see.
You had equipment. No, we're done with dog care.
Okay, so the next would be 810.
806 state
No,
parks.
no.
So I think we did 810. Was that
Yeah.
engineering? Oh, so, yeah, so 810. So this was the one, this is for engineering the dam safety program or the dam safety grant.
Yeah,
And so this is for the one permanent position. You established a grant program last year, but we didn't get the positions. So that's what this is for. It's the request.
so the money is just in the special fund then? If you're not giving out the money at all?
No, so we haven't been able to implement that program without a staff.
Oh, that's kind of important.
It is,
It's
you're
right.
right, you're right. So this is critical for that program, so we can implement the $5 million grant program.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm just going to quickly explain it just because it's it's quite a bit of money. This program allows DLNR to give grants to small landowners that used to have generally plantation infrastructure on their property, and on that property there are sometimes dams, and the landowner cannot take care of it. And so they're either going to decommission it, but it may not be in the state's best interest to decommission it. So this grant allows the landowner to apply for it and then hopefully upgrade the dam so that we can keep it.
We tried it last year. What happened?
So we passed it, but
Yeah.
we didn't get the position.
Oh,
So
okay.
we went in, but.
No, the
Senator,
bill only had the 500, had the
No, we
money.
had 10 million.
Yeah, we had
got it-
something.
We got it, I think the governor reduced it to 5, but it didn't include the position. So
Oh,
that's why this year we're asking for the positions. We're re-asking for those.
Yeah,
positions.
because this really
Okay.
affects lots of neighbor island.
And it's even more important, to add to your comment, Senator, with fires, this isn't only dams, it's reservoirs. So unless we can retain, especially from like catastrophic flood events, if we cannot capture that water for both,
No,
for
yeah.
reservoirs. So yes, this is really critical because we're getting more applications to decommission because they can't
Yeah.
afford to keep it. So yes, so this position is very critical. So that's 810.
Okay, and then let's go to the federal funds ceiling adjustment,
Yeah.
10 million.
And, oh, yeah. That is,
You're going to get $10 million more grants?
it's your ceiling adjustment, yeah? Yeah,
Another grant.
okay.
And what is the grant for? You gotta speak in the mic.
Tina?
Just speak.
Oh, Edward.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair.
Hello.
It was to do with the dam safety program in the LNR. So we applied for a high hazard potential dam rehabilitation grant. It's a federal grant, and we received 10.3 million in awards. We're still working with FEMA right now to identify if we'll have our projects approved. We're in the next phase of that grant. So we're not sure exactly when they'll finalize their agreement. We just had another meeting with them last Friday. And so the increase is to accommodate us in taking this additional money that we're going to get from the feds.
Okay. Questions? Okay, special fund increase, that's a small amount, but fringe. And then add positions.
This is for the LNR 906. This is to add a position for our labor relations EEO. That would be adding to HR.
How big is HR getting over there?
They can only get as big as their office. Actually, they're feeling, but this is a necessary position. Alice, you want to come up?
No, we can go, we can move on.
Okay, you can move on. Okay. Similarly, the remainder, the 906-2A-2B.
Yeah, this one is kind of awkward. The additional 21,000. You got the delegated authority, and then now you want more money because you feel you should be paid more because you got the delegated authority.
Your reallocations too.
This is HR, Alice?
Change the name.
Okay.
Alice Schutte, DLNR HR officer. Yes, so they are absorbing that additional delegated responsibility. So I do want to pay them competitively. This is not only because it's a great thing to do, but it's also for retention purposes. I don't want them going somewhere else. That would definitely hamper what we've done so far, and we want to continue doing the same good work.
But this is only for one position.
No, it's for four,
Four.
so it's spread out, It's for that team of 4. Just for your consideration. Thank
Okay,
you.
next.
Thanks.
And then you're matching that with special fund. Is that what that is? Okay, go ahead. Okay. Okay, so the pay differential is gonna be 10 grand
10.
each.
At least.
About. Thank you.
Okay, next.
And then the LNR 906, that was for the,
Oh, I thought that was in there already.
I don't think it was as recurring.
It was a bill, was it?
They
Oh,
gave us just for 1 year, the economic development. So this is.
well, how are you gonna pay for all these things?
You're still on.
I'm telling you.
You're still on 906.
No, you guys you have so many assets.
And we are.
Anyway,
Yes.
okay.
So, and then this, the next one is a federal fund.
Yeah,
federal
okay.
funding.
And then
And then
906.
is the completion of the phase 3 and 4 for our consolidated website.
And what does this do?
So this is the one that the legislature required us to do on one consolidated web. And it is actually, it's a really good web service. So you can find all of our permits, all of our licenses, all of the information related to DLNR on this one consolidated website. And the second phase is 3 and 4. Lila, are you here? It's not more directly, but it permits us to do more data collection and marketing. But Lila, specifically phases 3 and 4.
But this is going in. Oh, it's almost the same amount 2 years in a row.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Lila Los, I'm IT DLNR. This is the continuation of our expanded website, consolidated website that we are expanding in the next 2 phases. So we are,
So when is this going to be complete?
so right now we're in phase 2, which is gonna be complete in June of this year. The following phase will be June of 26 and then June of 27.
And how much is the whole cost of it?
The entire cost would probably be less than 4 million. No, is it?
We probably expended half of that.
We expended 9 and 9.
You expended 900,000?
900 in phase 1, which was
Okay.
in June, and then this
And then,
we're in phase 2, which will be complete in June.
so phase 2 is fiscal year 26. Phase 3,
25.
oh,
We're
okay.
doing it, we're currently in phase 2.
Okay, so there's 4 phases.
Yes.
And these are for the last 2 phases.
Okay, I'm hearing that you're also including the permitting systems in this website as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's SHPD in? Can you help SHPD?
No, is SHPD part of this? They should be.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, you're talking about including all the agencies, so can you help SHPD?
No, well, the question is SHPD included
It
in this?
wasn't included because they're on a separate system. It wasn't included as far as you mean to redo their system or create a new one.
Why
They
is it?
have one.
Oh,
So what was okay, I guess we have to go look at the act. Because it's Act 182, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
SHPD was put on, the previous administrator decided to use that high-risk system, which is not, it's not.
If it went through your
Yeah.
committee though, and we passed it 2 sessions ago.
And under the other director. Now, we had issues with it too, because we also lost staff. And that was the problem, because
You might want to
yeah.
revise what you passed then and include SHPD if you think it needs. to
I
be
would
included.
think if it'll be faster and if it's best for all of us,
Okay. well,
why not?
You can look at Act
Okay,
182.
I guess we got some work to do.
Okay, and the last, we can
Okay.
skip the last, that's fringe.
And if we're gonna do that, we gotta need bills, yeah.
Okay, any
Okay.
members' questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
On the vacancies, I'm looking at page 8, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but you have here park interpretive technician, park interpretive technician, park interpretive
table with the
technician, park
vacancies?
interpretive technician, park interpretive technician, all been
Page-
vacant till 7/1/2022.
11.
And you're projecting that it's gonna be filled on 7/1/2025, and they're all never been filled.
Oh, yeah.
So what is that about?
No, they're never been filled, they are the new ones.
yeah, the new position, that,
Yeah, but it shows that it's been vacant since 7/1/2022. And that you're gonna fill it on 7/1/2025.
is,
You got any ID numbers?
It's on page 8,
oh, so 8 of 9.
number 3 on the list. And if you go down, there's like a park interpretive technician all the way down. There's 5 of them that I caught, or 6.
I got it.
Oh, park and, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I can unravel this for you. Kurt Cottrell, Administrator, Division of State Parks. You guys were gracious enough to give us, I believe, 11 new tech positions several sessions ago. At the same time, we were losing some of our techs, and the problem really is retention and recruitment. The tech series is one of our lowest paid series in government. So again, it's another reorg situation.
Right.
You gave us the positions. We're grateful. We're ready to go. And we went, you know what? We're not going to be able to recruit or keep them. So they're all being upgraded to specialist positions. So there's a career ladder. So again, it's one of those where you gave us the slots. We're upgrading them into specialists. And we're working with DHERD on the reorganization of that series.
How realistic that you're gonna fill it by 7/1/2025, all 5 or 6? of
July
them?
of 25. I think it's more realistic to say we'll be ready for recruitment. But again, I don't know what the market's going to give us in terms of what the applicant pool is going to be. But I think we'll be ready to recruit by that date.
Well, I have a concern, and not with just your department, every department, on how they come up with these fill dates. Because if you look down on the next page, on page 9, you have date of vacancy 9/9/2020, expected fill date 12/31. Okay, that's not a good.
good one, but you have
Okay.
these
No
dates and
Yeah,
it's just
perfect.
how
No,
realistic,
yeah,
how do you
yes,
come up?
yes.
Because we looked at
Oh,
last
yeah,
year's one
the last
and
two,
some of
yeah.
these vacant positions, you were gonna fill it last year. and
I
you
think
didn't
it's
fill it.
wishful thinking to some degree where we're trying to pin a point where we think we're going to pull it off. And I think it's more realistic in this situation for those specialists. I think we'll be ready to push out the recruitments.
Okay, I'm just saying that you guys need to be more upfront with us and don't just give us bogus dates. Because you just advance the dates, because you don't want us to cut it. All these positions that are over 3 years old, you guys don't want us to cut it, but you give us these bogus dates. You know, and that's not what we're asking for. The other question I have, Mr. Chair, if I may continue, is overtime. You know, there's a bunch of overtime. 67.9% overtime for both 2024, 2025 in conservation resource enforcement. 45.5% again in conservation resourcement, natural resources, ecosystem, 85.5% overtime, 2024. So I know you talked about vacancies and stuff, but these are high percentage overtime. If I may, don't care if you want to say something, but much of this is due to, I think it was the fire, behind the fire. And then the 1-9. Yeah, but you're projecting some of this in 2025? That you're gonna have those same overtime amounts?
So, Senator, to answer your question, yes, this is related to some of the past operations we've been involved in. The Lahaina wildfire is one of them. Things like the Uncle Billy's demolition, where we've had to stand up a 24/7 posture. And because of that, you know, various articles of the collective bargaining agreement are triggered, where we have to treat our employees as shift workers. And because of that shift worker designation, there's various overtime articles, various circumstances, working conditions where we have to pay overtime out. With respect to the current fiscal year, I do expect that because of our posture out in West Oahu, which is also a circumstance where we have to have shift work being done, that the overtime is going to continue so long as that operation remains the way it is right now.
Okay, but if we know in advance and you're looking at it, why aren't we preparing and getting regular employees instead of
No.
paying overtime?
Okay, well, okay, let me just go back then. So we've been trying to provide 25 new recruits every other year, because that's all they can that's all they can train in 2 years right for now. So that they can get the force up to about 450 people statewide. So once they get a full force, then the overtime hopefully is going to go down. But right now it's a few people, but how many you got now? 100 something?
We have about 130 employees in Docare statewide.
And we gave them 50 within the last, what?
Several years.
And
2
is
years.
is this enforcement?
Yeah,
Is it
Docare
enforcement?
office.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so isn't,
Yeah,
so
hunting, trail,
didn't
beaches.
sheriff said that they were augmenting some of these?
No.
The homeless issues is.
No, the sheriff doesn't go mountain range. They don't go into the ocean. They don't do that.
I thought they said they were augmenting.
They don't
some
do
of this.
deal on our property. Yeah, no.
Trying to alert, doing to kind of.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Since you're bringing up the Waianae boat harbor, for the actual manpower you're using out there, 8 of them, 8 people who in the boat harbor, is that a minimum requirement for you guys to man the boat harbor? Because I know you guys get a lot of people out there, and they're just manning the exit and entrance of the boat harbor. But I don't see no enforcement. And again, Chair, I don't see any timeline of when we're gonna move the homeless encampment that's been highly asked by your department to relocate them and have a plan, which I didn't see a plan. And God rest her soul, Twinkles when passed away. And all that deals that she had made with everybody previously was on the table. So I don't know what is the timeline, because we paid money for them to be at the board, but at the problem that we had was from the encampment. As far as I know, you guys are not patrolling in it. You are not walking in it. At the beginning part of the boat harbor, they're still using the water all night. But then the guys at the other side is getting enforced by your guys' side that they cannot use the water by the ramp for certain things, which is understandable because you're not supposed to wash your truck but a ramp. But the houseless individuals that are using the water all day, all night, there's no enforcement. There's no rules. So how are we just justifying them standing? I'm not saying they're not doing their job, standing there, making this kind of amount of overtime, and we know you guys are shorthanded. But again, it doesn't give us a bang for a buck because you guys standing there and you guys just talking to the people that using the inside of the harbor. There's no patrolling, no enforcement for the rest of the harbor. And that's the issue right now. The houseless individuals that's there, knowing that they can use the water all day, all night, fill up all the containers, no restrictions on them. The boat guys gotta wash their boats at a certain time, and if they cannot use certain water, not your problem, but the boat harbor guy, he pays detective and can stop certain people from using the water. So I don't see none of that being allocated or even talked about in the relocation of that village that's supposed to have been gone 4 years ago.
Senator, I appreciate the question. I appreciate the frustration. We
Right.
too are frustrated.
Right.
By the POW. So we actually have, well, I'm sorry. So we are frustrated too and have been asking them for a timeline about when are they going to relocate at Malka? Because DOE would like to use that space to expand Waianae High School. So one, we are working with POW. They just have a change of leadership to get a more specific timeline. We have been asked by the county to give them a little bit more time, but DOE is interested in using that space. So that's one with respect to POW. With respect to DOCARE's enforcement, so DOCARE is there not necessarily to enforce the POW, but it was in response to the shooting that occurred to try to have a presence at the.
Sure, no, that wasn't the letter that I sent to you guys and you guys didn't respond by putting the security by the harbor. It was that I have periodic checks in the encampment because the people that was doing the shooting, and I told you this, Don, told you this. The guys that was doing the shooting and hiding in the community was hiding in refuge in the encampment. HPD city, just said city called just to give you more time. They thought HPD patrolling there.
Yeah.
These guys do whatever they like in that little encampment. There's no accountability. If you guys don't patrol, HPD patrol, I wouldn't stay there. I cannot hide my crime. But because nobody going there, they can do whatever they like. It's lawlessness over there. But again, we're spending money for 8 guys. I know because I go in and out. 8 guys to stand there just to say, hey, where are you going? Oh, we're going fishing it out. Okay, go. I mean, come on, Don.
Yeah, no, so again, the information that we received was that the POW were not necessarily responsible for the shooting. But nonetheless,
No,
that's.
I didn't say there was I didn't say they was involved in the shooting, Don. I said that's where they're hiding. But nobody, not today. How much patrols you guys did in there now? Since you guys been out there with the shooting? 0. How much HPD did? 0. I'm not saying they're the ones providing the guns and doing the shooting. I said nighttime, illegal activity is happening and they're hiding in there because nobody patrols. You guys don't even have a list of who actually lives there. I asked you to get that list. If I know everybody in this room lives there, hey, you don't live here. You're out. I see if you guys patrol, you see if that encampment will shrink. That encampment is growing from 200 to 380 now. Why? Why?
Is that our problem? Is
Yes,
that our,
it
don't care?
Is
Is city and county or us?
So actually, it is the Division of Aquatic Resources where the POW camp is. But there has been, we have been asked, how would I say, that POW has their own management within the
explain what is
campsite.
It's state land.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's called Waianae.
Oh, okay.
So that's the homeless
Okay.
encampment that Twinkles was on.
Okay.
So they do have Manka land and we too, we share the senator's frustration that they should be moving up Manka. But we have been asked by the county, and then we've got John Mizuno also working with them on trying to relocate them up Manka.
So Malka is whose land is?
So Malka is that POW, they received land on Malka.
okay.
So they received
Okay.
quite a bit of land up there. So, but they're transitioning, but we too are anxious to have them relocate up Malka so that land can be used. So the intention for that property is to be transferred to Department of Education to expand the Waianae High School's marine education program. But until they vacate and we clean the area, they cannot occupy it. But we don't have daycare officers or HPD policing within the encampment.
Okay, well, I'm trying to explain. So you guys
Can
know.
we get DLE to help?
They have to be asked by them. The Department of Law Enforcement, they gotta be asked.
It's not really a conservation enforcement issue.
Exactly.
You guys should be doing, like we talked about,
Yeah.
hunting trails, hiking
Yeah.
trails, beach, ocean. Why are you guys doing this?
Well, because of the shooting, the
Yeah,
governor
so
wanted
why not getting
24/7.
DLE involved then?
Well, it was because of the 24/7.
No, but why not get DLE? Because that's more of a
Well,
DLE.
because this is, so we've told DLE in DLNR lands, and that's a small boat harbor, and DAR lands, that daycare will respond. So if, Jason, if you want to add anything more to that?
No, I think.
But you don't have the staffing.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about, that's why we tried to establish the Marine Patrol because people were killing
Exactly.
seals and turtles. And we're trying to get you guys, and the problem is the overtime is unfortunate because it's 8 to 5 job right now until we can get you guys enough staff for 24/7. So you're not there on the weekend sometimes, you're not there on the holidays, you're not,
So no,
that has to be your focus.
Right.
This kind of stuff maybe should be DLE.
so we haven't compromised, Jason, you haven't compromised daycare's other service. It just means you have, but maybe you're better suited to answer their question.
So we're doing the best we can to balance the Oahu-based force across the island of Oahu. Out in Waianae right now, we are augmenting with off-island personnel to maintain our posture 24/7. Now, with respect to the POW camp, yes, we don't normally patrol the camp on a regular basis. We do respond there when we're called to. And in fact, when issues have occurred while our officers have been there since August, we have gone into the camp on numerous occasions to respond to those incidents. People who are sick, domestics, lost children, those kinds of things when they come to our attention. So we are responding into the camp when we're needed to, but Senator is correct. We don't normally patrol that. It is DAR land. It is DLNR's responsibility ultimately to manage and therefore conduct law enforcement on that land. I'm not so sure at this point because I haven't really looked at it, whether DLE's assistance would help in that regard, just because of the unfamiliarity with DLNR's rules and whatnot with that department.
Okay, and hiring a security firm wouldn't help?
No, so we're trying to actually facilitate the relocation. We want POW to move up Mako where they're supposed to. So we do have a meeting with them next week.
But didn't you just say DOE wants the land?
We do, but nobody.
Okay, you know what? We should probably end this because this,
Yeah,
we could do,
exactly.
I think
You're
we
right.
should probably do an
Yeah.
info briefing
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
Waterland.
Yeah.
And then you guys can talk about it because this,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
because there's no actual budget request for this right
That's what
now.
I'm saying. That's right. That's what I'm wondering why they wouldn't budget anything for this because they were budgeting for overtime. That is state property. Me and you can't just go cut out state property and live there.
Sure.
We'll be gone.
We can do this in the information briefing as well when
Thank
we work
So
on
just on
this.
comment, maybe you should outreach DLE, which is why DLE, when they came in with their budget, initially on that shooting in Waianae, DLE was very involved with it. And the technology that they are using could probably help you guys as well. That's all I would say.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
Chair.
Thanks.
But, we've talked about in the future, I'm not sure if you have it yet,
Yeah.
is a statewide plan for substations for daycare.
Right.
And maybe that
Right.
piece of property
Yes.
should be a substation for
Yeah,
daycare.
So that's what we're thinking. So once we can relocate them out.
No, but you
to
still
have
gotta,
physical presence
you should
inside.
plan already some of these.
Yeah, but we're contingent upon, we just kind of kick them out. We've been
Yeah,
asked to work.
But you're
with
not
them.
gonna, if,
Not kick them out. You guys gave them one time
But-
in the middle of this year, Dawn. You told me that.
by the time you do planning,
moved yet.
design and construction, that's gonna be a while.
So next.
Don't do things sequentially. I think we need to do things at the same time.
Because they had, so long they have the property, 4 years.
Okay, why don't we move on then? We still gotta hear from Kirk and Mauna Kea Management Authority.
Thank you.
Aloha Senators, Mike Nahoki, Exec Director, Kaho'ola'a Island Reserve Commission. First, I want to thank you very much for adding in the funding from our discussion prior to the fire about our Kihei Restoration Education Center. We were unaware until the actual budget bill came through and we saw you guys added in our next phase money. So thank you very much. As soon as we got it, we tried to get Finn to jump on board. We were hitting them up and we couldn't get it through. But this year we actually asked for it again. We didn't get it approved in this current budget, but we're asking if you can add it back in again. And the only other ask we have this year was for additional, for years we've been asking for additional personnel. We only asked for one body this year. We are going to be seeking 2 confirmation hearings for Senator Noy coming up to your committee later. And we want to say that the evidence that our programs are working is, we don't even have our slide up there. But this year, we've been focusing on coastal restoration, stabilizing the shoreline, eradicating invasive species. We're now having sea turtles nesting in the restored areas because now they want to go into these areas that are native vegetation. And we had 2 successful hatchings and turtles being born on Kaho'olawe in history.
Okay, can you just explain to the committee ultimately how the transfer of property is supposed to occur?
Yes, so Kaho'olawe, when was returned from the federal government, from the Navy to the state of Hawaii, there's a clause in our statute that says, upon the federal and state recognition of a Native Hawaiian sovereign entity, the management and control of Kaho'olawe shall be transferred to that entity. So the 2 key factors is that the federal government has to acknowledge that there is a sovereign Native Hawaiian government, and the state of Hawaii has to acknowledge that. And then at that time, we will determine, I guess all of us together will determine what does management and control means, because I think I made a presentation to the WAM committee a couple of years ago. It could be one of 4 things. It could be we turn the whole island over, so title is transferred, which means everything goes there. It could mean the Kirk is transferred and that the Native Hawaiian government takes all the seats.
We should
on the
let
Kirk.
the Attorney General determine.
Yeah, so the state is going to figure all those, but there's 4 different variations with different streams and process, and I've already planned those out, and they're standing by. We're waiting for the key event is federal government and the state of Hawaii to acknowledge that there is a Native Hawaiian sovereign government.
And you're still we've been fought by the federal government with regards to that issue, but I agree it should be handled by.
Well, that's where OHA has to kind of step it up.
By the AG.
This is the first time they brought it up this past session that nationhood is part of their statute, establishing nation.
That's right.
And I have a plan already standing by for when that happens.
What was the ask that you said did not get?
So 4.25 million in CIP. We're asking for the next phase, which was going to do some constructions to expand our boathouse and that area, to finish up to get a new SMA permit, and then also to finish up the construction designs. And we're actually working on our own funding to update the construction costs and redesign the way we're going to do the construction so that we can phase it more and make the cost.
25, can it be broken down by next biennium as well?
What's that?
You're asking for the 425,000.
4.25 million.
It's 4.2.
Yeah.
Can that be broken out to 2 or something of it?
We can break it down a little bit, but it's going to be 900 for construction expansion.
Was that proposal given to the governor's budget?
Yes.
Can you send us a copy of it?
Yes, I can.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we hear from Mauna Kea Management Authority?
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and I have your boat bill if you still want to go.
Actually, do the van. Okay.
Good morning, John
Morning.
DeFries,
Aloha.
Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority. Here to ask for your support in the positions that have been requested. When I arrived at the authority 9 months ago and learned that the fiscal budget at the time was 14 million, I knew at that time that it would be difficult to actually expend that amount. Since then, in this fiscal year, 10 million.
Yeah, but you guys don't have anything in table 6. So what the governor denied all your requests. Yeah, Kirk and one. Okay. And then CIP too. None. Okay, you want to summarize then?
Oh,
Can I ask a CIP request? Because I
Sure.
think you already worked with land division with regards to the occupancy for your office at the old Bank of Hawaii building on in Hilo.
We're working with.
So where are you getting the money from for that?
And we now have received approval to spend an initial $750 on planning.
From the existing monies you already have?
That's
your
correct.
budget. Okay,
But is the transfer occurring or what? Because there's a timeline
3 years.
The timeline of,
between UH and you.
yes,
And because
Well,
if it's not met, it reverts.
It's 2028.
we're like
And
19
it's
months
been
into the
Delaying
transition.
for several years. Nothing's really happened.
Well, it's happening now.
Excuse me, we can defer that question. We will be doing an informational briefing with your legislative report you gave to us that it's in our offices.
And actually, Chair, we're meeting with your staff on the
Yeah, but
20.
but we're doing
So
the
you guys
informational.
have a timeline
Yeah.
and
We will.
it's moving.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Just wanted to know, when you guys doing the transfer, how forthcoming is the University of Hawaii on this? Because I know we're talking about the delays. I know there was the long delay, looking, giving all this information to you guys in a timely manner. How is that working out?
You know, at an operating level, it's actually working well with the Center for Mauna Stewardship. And we have formed a joint management committee. There was a different interpretation between the former president of the university and the board chair at the Mauna Kea Authority. That was not reconciled prior to the president departing, but it didn't prevent the operating level from moving forward. And I'm grateful to that team. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna adjourn and then we're gonna reconvene at 1:25
For the next
for the
debate.
debate and WAM.